with positively higher quality standards for each tier that provides support and incentives for programs and teachers and administrators to reach the higher level of quality. Well, there are 5 tiers, and this year we were assessed, and I don't know the results of the 17 classrooms. I have asked the director for those results. Some of our classrooms have done tier 4, have achieved a tier 4, and some of our classrooms have achieved a tier 5. On the next page, it has how much money was awarded to San Joaquin County for the quality grant. San Joaquin County was awarded $1,160,000. This grant is run by the County Office of Ed. They have coaches that come in and work with the teachers. They do an environment assessment. Many of the environments are old, dirty, and dingy. One classroom asked for a new carpet, and they got, recently, they just got a carpet, a new carpet to them, but it was a used, old, stained carpet. Another one had ordered in 2017 a carpet for her classroom. She just received that carpet, and it was half the size. You have 21 children, and a half-size carpet for them to sit at circle time is not quality. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention again. I would like to know the transparency of the amount of money that we received from QRS and which classrooms were scored well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Tiffany Nielsen. And if I'm mispronouncing it.
It's okay. Hi, I'm Tiffany Nielsen.
Close.
Thank you for hearing me again. I've enjoyed being able to come to these board meetings and being able to speak. So I just want to first and foremost, if I could just spend 3 minutes saying thank you, that's what I would do, because I truly believe that you are here because you care about the well-being of our kids. So thank you for that. I want to give a special thank you to Lisa Katowski, for Scott McGregor, and for Chelsea Von Gier for hosting these parent meetings in regards to the CHYA. And I just want to let you know that the curriculum that you guys are looking to adopt it is optional for 5th and 6th grade. And I believe, along with many of my friends, that unfortunately we can't pick and choose. If we adopt this for the elementary, we're adopting the whole thing. And I believe that there's elements of this curriculum, having looked at them, that just isn't appropriate for 5th and 6th grade. I also just want to take the time to say that I have been made aware by several friends and family members of a statewide sit-out this Thursday in California in response to California's decision for the CHYA. I do not believe that a sit-out is the solution for this, so I have, along with my friends, been encouraging other friends to, rather than sit out this Thursday in response to what is going on in California, to stand in and bring your kids to school on Thursday in response to our amazing board who really care about our kids and really want to make decisions in our kids' well-being. So I just want to let you know, as a conservative parent, I'm choosing to keep my kid in this school district, all 3 of my kids in this school district, because I believe in this school district. I believe in you guys. I believe in Lisa, Scott McGregor, and Chelsea making best decisions for our school. And one last side note, the last 2 board meetings I've spoken on non-agenda item about the one-to-one policy and the safeguards that have been in place. And I am pleased to say that my son has been coming home from Millswood saying, "Mom, I can't get on any site. Everything's blocked." So I just want to say thank you very much for hearing me and for blocking sites for our kids. They're having a hard time getting through to sites, and I'm very thankful that you are listening to us and that you care about the well-being of our children. So I want to let you know I stand. My kids will be staying in school this Thursday in support of what you are doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. Okay, Robert Schlitt.
Good evening, President Knackstedt and members of the Board of Education. As a parent of students in elementary and middle school in this district, I want to begin by expressing appreciation to Lisa Katowski, Scott McGregor, and Chelsea Von Gier, and a team that hosted 2 recent meetings to discuss the proposed comprehensive sexual health education and HIV prevention curriculum. Lisa Katowski and her team provided a transparent presentation of the California Healthy Youth Act as well as the proposed curriculum. And they also answered a wide variety of parent questions. I believe the concerns of parents and grandparents are being taken into consideration, and for that reason, I am very grateful. Over the past few weeks, I've met with many parents, grandparents, and community leaders who share my concerns about the implementation of the proposed curriculum, and I want to urge the administration and Board of Education to be mindful of the fact that some of the content of this curriculum promotes a worldview that is inconsistent with many of our family values and the faith that we hold dear. The California Healthy Youth Act prohibits the teaching or promoting of religious doctrine. However, according to 8 pastors in Lodi, the curriculum teaches and promotes doctrine that is in direct contradiction to established teaching of a wide variety of Christian movements as well as other major religions. According to the ACLU and Cornell Law School, the Supreme Court has made it clear that the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment prevents any government entity from favoring one religion over another, religion over non-religion, and non-religion over religion. Therefore, I urge you to make every effort to allow parents to teach morals, values, and ethics regarding sexual behavior in the home and in places of worship while sticking to scientifically verifiable facts in the classroom. I'm committed to assisting with this process to the best of my ability and appreciate your concern for the well-being of all the children and families of the Lodi Unified School District. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Jeannie Hohen.
I do have something to pass out. And this
Jamie
is
Hall.
one copy for Lisa.
Oh, maybe Tammy, I don't know. Is it Tammy or Jamie?
Jamie.
Jamie.
Jamie Howen.
Yeah, got it.
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight at your meeting. I am very passionate about giving our young people accurate sex education. I'm a registered nurse and currently employed at Directions Medical Clinic, a local pregnancy clinic which offers free services including pregnancy testing and ultrasounds, as well as education on all pregnancy options and STI information. One of our community services is also STI education to any interested community group, including Lodi Unified School District. We have been providing this service of sexual transmitted infection education to Tokay and Lodi High School for several years. And our student exit surveys reveal that students are very glad that we have come, and many of them state that the information has encouraged them to delay having sexual relations. I've been researching Teen Talk all week and reading a lot of the information. And Teen Talk, the curricula that is currently being examined by Lodi Unified, is considered a sexual risk reduction curriculum, which assumes that kids are sexually active. And in researching options for the Teen Talk curricula, I found a curricula called Check the Facts, and the information I passed out is a little brief summary of it. It's based out of Turlock, and this curriculum is considered a sexual risk avoidance curriculum, which assumes that not all teens are sexually active. In reaching out to this organization, I received a message from the director, Jeanette Falcone, stating that she would come to Lodi and give a presentation of the materials to any interested parties. Ms. Falcone is a credentialed teacher with a master's degree in education and also an adjunct professor of child development at Cal State Stanislaus. She believes in educating, equipping, and empowering young people so that they can make life-affirming choices as they develop and become who they are meant to be in order to pursue their life goals. She began developing the Check the Facts curriculum in January of 2013 after working with the local high school district to develop a teen parenting program. And since that time, she has continually updated and added to the curriculum in order to provide the most up-to-date sexual health information to area youth. The program has been legally reviewed and found compliant with AB 329. She is in the beginning stages of a very large study to prove its effectiveness, but can show results of a smaller in-house study to show that it is effective. And currently this organization is covering much of Stanislaus County, but recently has met with Anaheim School District as they are also interested in the material.
Okay, Jamie, you are over your 3 minutes, so you give us a closing statement, please.
Okay, the last thing I want to say is that this program is free, as opposed to Team Talk, which costs $290 per notebook, and I'm assuming that you would need to purchase several copies of the notebook. So this is something that you should look into. I encourage you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Free is always good.
Yeah. One question real quick.
Yeah.
You mentioned the two names of the programs. Can you give me those again so I can write it down? The
Jeanette.
one that we're studying is,
Oh, check the facts. The name of the study?
the one that we are looking
Oh,
at.
Team Talk.
Team Talk. Yeah, Team Talk. You gave it a tag of some kind, let's say.
Oh, it is a sexual risk avoidance
Sexual
curriculum
risk avoidance, okay?
versus a, no, I'm sorry. Teen Talk is a sexual risk reduction,
Reduction, sexual risk.
and
reduction, okay.
Check the Facts is a sexual risk avoidance. Also, I just want to tell you, I spent several hours looking at Teen Talk, and there's some erroneous medical information in there. The
Okay.
worst one being that Plan
I really
B.
can't go on and
Okay.
I just needed
Okay.
two names so I could do some investigation.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Karen Manning?
Good evening. My name is Karen Minnick. I'm the speech and debate coach at Bear Creek High. I'm here to formally request that efforts be made to raise the current $100 reimbursement limit. I'd like it $250. 200 would be great though. And I would also like to thank Courtney Porter for responding to my email in regards and actually saying he'd look into it. This policy's been outdated for years and years as the cost of living has risen, and the obviously the allowed amount for personal reimbursement has not. We often have to make several trips in order to adhere to this outdated policy, so we would appreciate your continued efforts to amend it. It's a little thing, but it really means a lot, and it goes really far for so many of us out here. We need you to be proactive on our behalf and as well on our behalf of our students. On that note, Bear Creek High School currently has the largest physical campus. We have 7 areas of supervision, as well as the largest student body population. We have over 2,500 students. Yet we only have 4 campus supervisors, fewer than Lodi High, who has 5, apparently because of maintenance operations are also at that site. Regardless of the motivation, it sends a message to every student and staff member that the board values things over people. Despite efforts to lock up every campus in Lodi Unified, we all know the sad reality that anything can happen at any time. With the campus as large as the Creek, with as many students as the Creek, we need more supervisors allotted to our campus overall. We ask that the ratios start matching the population. Lodi Unified needs to be more proactive than just adding more gates, alarm codes, and technological firewalls. We need enough staff to keep our students safe. If the district can afford bus babysitters to keep our students safe, we can certainly afford more supervisors on our campuses across the cities as well. We always say that our kids are our first priority, but please let's show up. It's, in an increasing by increasing the safety personnel across the district. After a tragedy strikes is the wrong time to take precautionary efforts. The time to make all of our campuses a safer place to work and to learn is now, by increasing the staff to student ratio at all levels and in all aspects. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa Wilkin?
Good evening to the school board, President Conexted. Thank you for letting me speak. Unfortunately, at your last meeting, I wasn't here, but I was live streaming it. And I was very, very, very disappointed to hear some of the comments coming out of members of the school board. We were talking about, the topic was school boundaries, and specifically interdistrict transfers from Marana to Lodi, where one of you said, and I believe it was you, Mr. Nava, that you had gotten several complaints from parents about living in Lodi and not wanting to go to Stockton schools. I have always taught in a Stockton school. I have always taught at a Title I Stockton school, and I'm very proud of it. What I hear from the board and what I heard in that whole conversation is that Stockton schools are inferior to Lodi schools, and you go ahead and promote this to your constituents. I'm sorry, but if I were a board member, I would have said to people complaining, our Stockton schools are just as good as our Lodi schools.
Amen.
And coming from Marana, which was specifically spoken to against Lodi Middle, I can tell you that class sizes at Marana are much smaller. Our discipline problems are less, way less than what is going on at Lodi, and I've talked to administrators and teachers at both sites. Our test scores are higher than Lodi Middle. So in the future, I really appreciate it, especially for those of us who teach in Stockton, that we are not considered less than. It was extremely insulting for me to hear that whole conversation. And for several teachers too. It was brought to my attention. I am also I'm very active in LEA, and teachers within the district who teach in Stockton had said that, had made comments to me, had sent me emails, sent me messages saying, did you hear that whole conversation? And they're very distressed as well. So next time you talk about different school sites, really consider who you are talking about. It's not only the students there, it's also the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonya Banat Bandano. Tanya, sorry.
Trying to get my husband to come up with me.
No way.
Chicken.
Oh, you shamed him into it.
Only because your name's on the paper here. Okay. Hello. My name is Tanya, and it's my husband, Tony Badano. Our 4 children have attended Tokay High School, with our baby now a current senior there. For the past 18 years, we have been strong supporters of a variety of sports programs, attended meetings, the FFA, the Ag Science events, and been members of all the boosters. We are here tonight to bring to your attention that Tokay's brand new barn still has many issues that are incomplete with it. And for us, we believe that they address a lot of health and safety issues, not just for our students, but also the livestock that we raise there. The principal of Lincoln Tech, I believe her name is Julie, I don't know her last name, handles all the funds that are directed into the Ag Science pathway. Don't understand much about that, but that's what we understand. And she denied pretty much all the requests to correct these issues. And so I only have the one, but this is a copy of the letter for the requests. And our top 3, in our opinion, that have to be done before we get animals again this year and that our students are in these barns working is the exhaust fans, because the barn was built incorrectly initially, and it was supposed to be an open barn on one side. So now it's an enclosed barn with no ventilation. So we're in there 105 degrees, feeding, cleaning our animals, trying to keep them cool, and we're breathing in, you know, all the dust and all of the whatnot that our animals put out. So it's just not a good thing. We need exhaust fans in there. We need our hog waste system. We only had a few hogs this year, but that program is growing. And these were all kind of in that beginning part of getting this barn. And then along with that is the dirt fill in for, like, our goats can't be on concrete, they have to be on dirt. And it hasn't been, the additional dirt hasn't been brought in and leveled up to the concrete. So we had a lot of water issues last year. There are 8 in total on this list right here that include additional, livestock panels with gates, additional fencing, and security cameras, just to name a few. So if you could help us kind of get these things rolling and to protect our students for their health. I mean, we don't need respiratory problems. We don't need our neighbors to be upset about any smells that we could have handled with these hog waste systems. And they also benefit our grapes and whatnot, and are used to fertilize our garden area and our flowers and whatnot. So it's just a very good program. Miss Freeman is amazing. We love the 2 new teachers we have. So help us have the best program we can.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a quick question, just quick. Is it the funding from, did you say Lincoln Tech, and it's not Tokay High?
Lincoln Tech is the gal, the principal over there is the one that like directs the funds.
Okay, I just wanted clarification.
Yeah, so we don't understand, we had like billions of dollars to take care of things last year.
And then it changed.
Yeah, and then it just got dropped
Okay.
to like nothing. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to move on to comments from the board. Actually, I have 1 or 2. I was going to bring this up, Mrs. Meek already talked about it, but I'm kind of curious about the reimbursement limits and, you know, maybe how old when those limits were set, and with the price of goods and services always going up, it might be time to just review it. Maybe throw a few more bucks into that type of stuff. So maybe next meeting we'll have a quick report on that. And the other thing was I was able to attend the rededication of the Hubbard football field at Tokay High School last week, or actually 2 weeks ago. If you haven't been there, this is just a great facility that everybody in Lodi should be proud of. But on a personal note for me, Steve Hubbard, who was football coach at Tokay High School, was a classmate of mine at Foothill High School in Bakersfield way back in the day. So it was kind of nice to see that also. Any other board comments?
Yes.
Mr. Nava?
I just want to say that Mr. Freitas and I attended 2 ball games at Tokay High School. One was against Tokay and Stag, the other one was Lodi Stag. And I have a concern on the stadium itself. The stadium is beautiful. We do need some lights in the stands. It's quite dark. If something happens there, it's Katie by the door on that. Both sides, visitors as well as the home team. And also I want to mention that first class operations, Adam, last game was perfect. You had supervision all over the place. We saw it, and it was a great game. Well-behaved people, and also the Tokay visitors, Tokay home of the previous game were excellent. I enjoyed both games, and of course the first one, Stag beat Tokay, and the other one, Lodi beat Stag, so that's that. Also, I want to respond to Ms. Wilkins. I've never remember mentioning any inferior schools in North Stockton, because I do have 3 grandchildren who went to the North Stockton schools, and I'm very proud of anything that happens in the North Stockton area. As you know, North Stockton has 22 schools in that area, and we have over 14,000 students there. And I'm very proud of all the schools there. I visit my area 7. I visit all the elementary schools that are in my area, plus the high schools, plus the alternative schools and all that. And I do have nothing to say but good grades on those schools. I don't know where the information came, The only comment I made the last time is maybe to get parents to get a little together and collaborate with the people that are seeking transfers and so forth. Other than that, I don't think I mentioned anything. I'm not defending myself, but I know that that's what happened. Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay. Any other comments from the board?
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
As Mr. Nava stated, we did attend the Lodi Stadium for 2 football games. We had a great time. Unfortunately, not a great time was held by our families and students and friends that went to Bear Creek. And I think at last meeting I asked for a task force to look at violence on our campuses. I personally believe that our campuses are one of the safest places per capita for our students and employees to be. But the perception of violence tends to be one of the limiting stigmas that is holding back, I think, public education. Also, the outbreak of violence is clearly disruptive to public education and carrying on the extracurricular activities. So again, I renew my request to participate and see that we have the latest, greatest, and best strategies in place to work towards making sure we have safe and secure environments for our campuses going forward.
Mr. Hibley. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I agree with what was mentioned earlier about the $100 reimbursement. That it doesn't take much to hit $100. So that would be something. I'm glad that we're going to discuss that in a future meeting. Mr. Freitas, I absolutely support the idea of a board subcommittee or whatever title we want to give it for safety. And safety is not just physical barriers or cameras that tell you what happened because it already happened. I've been in first responder for decades, I won't say how many, a whole bunch. And a large part of our system was prevention. We don't want things bad to happen. Now granted, when they happened, we stood between people and bad stuff. So not only is it those hard physical barriers, but it was mentioned it's people. You have to have a presence. And those systems can be worked so that we develop better strategies, so that we can have a better understanding of what is a potential that could be. And you know, I think the staff that we do have really do get a lot of information. Let's face it, students can't keep secrets. So things, we do hear things, but you still have to have a positive human being force out there to kind of make sure that people are safe and that we minimize whatever potential problems there could be. I completely support that, Mr. Freitas, and I would be interested in being on that committee if the board so chooses that we do that. And I look forward to future discussions on that. Like I said, hard physical barriers, all of those electronics and so forth, but human beings really is where the rubber meets the road. Thank you.
I see Mr. Neely getting ready.
I'm ready.
All right.
Mr. Freitas, I also agree with your idea and support that. If we make it a board subcommittee, we can actually have 4 board members on there. And we can do 2 from the Lodi area, 2 from the Stockton area. And with 4, we can also make sure that all 4 of our comprehensive high schools are covered. So I totally support that idea. I would say that if we need an action item on that, then we put the action item on the next agenda. If we want to get started sooner than that, we think it needs to be done sooner, let's call a special. 1 item special. You only need a couple board members here to do that, to get it by. So I totally agree with that. Problems at the new Tokay barn. That just seems to go without saying. Let's fix that. All right, and you know, unless we want to move somebody else's office out there inside that 105-degree temperature barn, it's closed in on all 4 sides with the animals. Let's just go ahead and get that done. Reimbursement limit, raise it to $200, cost us $150,000. We should do that. We affect all 1,500 of our teachers, raise it $100, $150,000, we're done, and we've done something. Let's look at that. I want to talk real quickly about the Superintendent's Technology Advisory Committee that I was at a couple weeks ago. I did not, as you all know, I made the last meeting by phone, and I really did not want to go over it by phone. Made a point there that the one-to-one devices, sending computers home with kids, was never the end goal. That's not why we did it. That's setting the atmosphere. The end goal is to do things like use computers and the internet as an integral part of the student's education. It's to extend the learning day beyond what's just in the classroom by enabling students to use their computers at home. We want to increase student engagement and be able to further personalize instruction for individual students. That's what computers allow us to do. Computers will never, ever, ever replace a teacher. But in the hands of a highly skilled teacher, they become a very valuable tool. Now, we had to get that out there first. We had to get the computers out there first before we could start teaching our teachers how to use it. Okay, that had to happen. Because you can't just tell somebody how to use it and not have it. You got to get it there, and now we work with it, now we train. And so the big challenge now is educating all of our teachers on how to use it. Now we have got some teachers out there who are way far ahead of us. All right? They know how to use these computers. We have got some very, very innovative teachers out there. Mike Maroka is a gentleman I worked with when I first got here. He and I had 6th grade classrooms next to each other at Creekside. And yes, that was a very loud section of that building between our two classrooms. Mike was always into technology, and he and I have kept in touch quite a bit. So he sent me an email at the beginning of the year, and he said, "George, you got to check out my new website." So I went to it, and I looked at it, and it's unbelievable, the information and the connection that he has with his students through that website. And then he sent me a text message, and I'm going to read you what he said, because I told him, I said, I want you to come to the board, and I want you to show what you've done with this. This was his text message. He said, "I made 2 promises to parents. The kids do not have to hook their computers to Wi-Fi at home, and they will never have to take a heavy book home. It's working perfectly, and all my dreams of blended instruction have come true. I don't have to introduce any basic concepts in class anymore because I just put it on the screencast and they watch it at home the night before without internet connection." Right? We've all feared about not everybody having internet connection. You can use the computer at home without internet connection. They can download and do all their work offline. So that's a pretty innovative process. All of us just don't know how to do it yet. But we need to get there. We got to have the computers in order to learn how to do it. You know, when I went to flight school in the Army, they were telling me how to fly a helicopter. They didn't tell me about it and expect me to go out there and jump in and fly it. They put me into equipment, and they had somebody there helping me all along the way. And that's what we need to do here. We need to help people all along the way till technology becomes an integral part of what we do. As an example, at that meeting, there was a 2nd grade teacher I respect very much. She's obviously she's been teaching for 30 years. And she said that sending computers home with kids doesn't make sense because they don't know how to read. We're teaching them how to read. And I understand her point. But the computer can help children learn to read at home. We have that, and therefore extend that learning day. And actually make it a lot of fun too, because there's some great reading games that are available offline that we can use. Another 4th grade teacher made the comment, said, well, without internet access, that Chromebook is like a brick. But that's not true. But she said that because she has not been properly trained yet. That's on us. That's what we have to make sure happens. Okay? So to me, that's a big deal. On October, I think it's 17th is our next board meeting. 17th, yeah. I'm trying to put together some teachers who are doing some really innovative things with technology and have them come here and address the board and show some of the things that we can do with technology. We just have to learn more about it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Neely. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have a couple questions for Mr. Khan. Mr. Khan, how are you? The $100 limit is, can you explain that to me?
It's a personal reimbursement limit that allows teachers to go out and purchase items and then submit reimbursement forms. Generally speaking,
They have to fill a form out?
I'm sorry?
They have to fill a form out?
Yes.
And they have to have a receipt?
Yes.
And that happens at the site?
Yes.
Okay.
And then submitted to accounting. Generally speaking, accounting would prefer that all purchases be handled through the requisition PO process. The issue that some teachers encounter is that there are oftentimes classroom emergencies and things need to be bought.
Well, I taught science, so I understand that. There are classroom emergencies where sometimes you have to go out and get stuff on your own. Now, how long has the $100 limit been in place?
I couldn't tell you, but quite some time.
Are we looking for?
Well, Ms. Juarez is back there.
It's the beginning of
Yeah, I think it's the beginning. I've been here.
We're 25th year.
Yeah.
I've been here in 2004.
It's the beginning of time. It used to be per store.
Okay, I guess I
Getting
can.
a
I'm
little
sorry.
bit off of the agenda.
I'm sorry.
And that will be on the agenda next month.
I've broken the rules there, so let me just go on my own little diatribe. The $100 limit's been in place for about 35 years, because I talked for 38. It used to be pretty easy, where you just go in, show your receipt, and you get reimbursed. And now it's become cumbersome. The other item is that if you order something from Amazon, and you have it sent to your house, you pay for it. Even if you use it in the classroom. Now, we all know what happens if you have it sent to the school, it gets lost. So that's another area I'd like to see us look into. Why not have it sent to your house? And if you're going to use it in the classroom, I think it's pretty easy to show evidence of that happening. The other issue I want to talk a little bit about is I'm still asking for the electric bill between Lodi and Stockton. I haven't had any information given to me on that. I do know that Lodi City has proposed a solar land lease. I still haven't gotten any information on that. The last meeting we asked about IDAs and the predominance of them at certain schools and what we can do to curtail those so that the local people that move in maybe a little bit later than or after when school starts have that opportunity to go to their home school. We haven't gotten a report back on that. As far as one-to-one, I agree with parts of what Mr. Neely said on the downloading of certain videos that can be taken home and used and so forth. But I also struggle with, there's a lot of things on the internet that can be used as well. Is it a tool? Yes. Are most teachers well equipped with it? Yes. But I'd like to know its effectiveness. A report I've seen is that only in low-income kids do their reading go up. Everybody else stays pretty much the same. So I'd like to see something come back to me tangent on its success, its cost. I do know that we could not provide cases. So those Chromebooks that are going home free in the sense that they're not covered. And how's that going? I also like to have a report back, say from the high schools, on how much time is being spent by the secretaries in the library or whoever's in charge dealing with repairing those Chromebooks and getting them back out. Because that's not their job. You know, they're there to assist the librarian. They're there to assist kids that bring classes and look up assignments and referencing material. They shouldn't be in charge of Chromebook distribution and repair. I don't think that's in their job description. So I have a few issues out there that I'd like to see reported back and get some hard data on, other than 2 or 3 teachers, the success that they have. I'd like to see this across the board. So thank you very much.
Any other comments from the board? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Emily?
Yeah, I kind of bypassed this, and I apologize for that. Tokyo High FFA, I've kind of been involved in that for quite a while, and that barn, unfortunately, was built differently than what was anticipated. Let me just say that. Yeah, you're shaking your head, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that thing has been just really difficult to get it to the point of completion and usable and have all the human and animal health going on. So I do want to thank you for bringing that up again and in your time, and thank you for bringing it back up to us. I do get periodic updates, I guess, on that from a citizen who's a major volunteer with the FFA programs. And so I haven't had one in a while, and I just kind of assumed everything was okay because I hadn't heard. So thank you for bringing it up, and absolutely, just get it done, especially when, you know, it's a curricular thing, so let's do it. One thing I did forget to mention, and I kind of want to bring it up again because it's something that would be for the start of next year, and that would be information on extended day kindergarten. There's a lot of different ways that's applied, a lot of different models, and you know, one of the things we talk about is extending the learning day. You had mentioned it about computers, where kids have access to materials. Well, this is another way of doing it. I know there are restrictions in some ways with facilities, and I get how the vote's supposed to go. If a certain amount of the school want this, then they can bring it forward and so on and so forth. But I would rather see the district in a position where we would say, yes, you may do that, as opposed to, no, you can't because of. So I just need more information. What are some ideas that we can be more open to extended day kindergarten? Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, guys. Moving on to report items. Made a slight adjustment to our agenda. We're going to move on to a report from the California School Boards Association update. We have a guest speaker, Mr. Neely. Would you introduce us, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Knaxet. Tonight we've got Steve Reed from CSBA. He is our PACER, and I never can remember what that acronym stands for, but he helps us on just about everything. He's here to give us an update on some legislative initiatives, and actually one that's passed, we may have to look at. So, Steve, could you come up and go ahead with the briefing?
Thank you. President Knaxet, board members, Superintendent Washer. My name is Steve Reed, and I'm the Public Affairs Community Engagement Representative for Lodi Unified in the 81 school districts between San Joaquin County and Madera and the 4 mountain counties.
Better known as PACER.
PACER, that's the acronym. Yeah. Lots of acronyms in education, so CSBA has given us another one. So 4 months ago, I came in to introduce myself when I first came on the job. This is a newly created position, and so I told you about what I was going to do. So Delegate Neely asked me to come today and speak about what we have done. So over the past 4 months, we have one of our big accomplishments is resuscitating the dormant San Joaquin County School Boards Association. And there are 14 school districts in San Joaquin County, and we had 25 members who turned out last Monday. 2 of them are from your board member Freitas and board member McFarland. And at that meeting, we had representatives from each district kind of give an update on what's going on in those districts and share best practices, and try and use that group as a resource for sharing information. Another thing that we've done through CSBA is to meet with all of our state legislative representatives in my area, so that we have 5 assembly members and 3 state senators in this area. So in the last 4 months, we met with all of them. CSBA does have a Ledge Action Day in the spring where delegates meet with the elected officials themselves, but we also want to have relationships with district office and their staff. So we made it a priority to go meet with the staff members in the district so we can have an ongoing relationship with those folks. About a month ago, the building trades representatives and Board Member Neely and Board Member Freitas and Superintendent Washer all convened and tried to find ways we can collaborate on CTE curriculum and talked a little bit about the apprenticeship programs and the availability of options for those students who are not going on to college straight out of high school. So very happy about that. We also, one of the things I'd like to announce tonight is that CSBA does provide programming, and we have a new Masters in Governance course. That's a 5 one-day courses, full-day courses, where we provide training in all areas of educational, law, and the issues facing school boards. So I believe that we have at least one graduate on the board tonight, and so we have these training programs all throughout the state, and so this is the one in Sacramento is going to be held in March 23rd, 24th, are the first 2 classes, and I highly recommend it based on George's recommendation. So I actually start my first class on Friday. So that's a little bit about programming. I have some updates on legislation. I have some good news and some bad news. I'll start with the bad news. CSBA, we have a proposal. California is currently 38th in the nation per pupil's spending. And for the state with the 5th highest per capita, for a state as rich as California, that's embarrassing. So in order to get up to the national average, we would need to raise spending per pupil of $2,400. So our initiative, we tax millionaires and raise $13 billion to bring us up to the national average by 2020. So we were hoping that a state legislator would put that on, put it on the March ballot. That did not happen, so we will be out seeking signatures to place it on the ballot in the November election. Good news is that AB 48 passed. That's a $13 billion school bond, facilities bond. That was passed by the legislature on Friday, and it will be on the March 3rd ballot. There was also Bill AB 1505 that provides greater transparency and oversight on charter schools, or require charter schools, all the teachers to be credentialed, and to take into account the impacts on surrounding schools. Bad news, late start bill did pass at 3 o'clock early Saturday morning. That was an issue that CSBA has been fighting very strongly. It would require all schools in the state, all high schools cannot start before 8:30 in the morning, and all middle schools cannot start before 8. So this is a state mandate. It's a 3-year phase-in. It's on the governor's desk now, and I understand you have I saw your social media post asking people to contact the governor and express your opposition, but there'll be lots of added expenses that are not going to be reimbursed by the state government.
Tell me it's not true.
I wish I could tell you it's not true.
I just want to make a correction. We didn't ask people to express their opposition. We asked people to express their opinion.
Correct.
We should have asked them to express their opinion. Steve, can you tell me something about the governor's inclination on this too?
Our understanding is that he's likely to sign it. It did pass the last legislative session, but Governor Brown vetoed it.
Now, Steve won't say this, but I will. I'm really disappointed in our representative, Susan Eggman, who had said that she would support us in being staunchly opposed to this and ended up voting in favor of it. So I'm not, Susan had called me and asked me if I would give my endorsement to her to run for Senate. I said I would. I absolutely plan on contacting her and withdrawing that endorsement. Also, Cooper, our representative here in the Lodi area, did not vote on the settlement. Both of those, and I disappoints me in not even voting on something like this. It's controversial, really, really disappoints me as well. So those are two of our legislation.
That concludes my report. I haven't taken any questions. If not, then I'm here to
I think there's a question or two.
Okay.
Mr. Freitas.
Well, Mr. President, thank you very much. I'm very excited that Steve's in this position with CSBA. He's been quite a resource for Lodi Unified, and he's going to continue, I think, being a great resource for Lodi Unified with the CSBA. As a PACER, whatever that acronym is. And thank you for bringing the information and the great work that you do. Full and fair funding, this is really, really spectacular. When people ask us why we're 40th in our test scores across the nation, well, we're 40th in our funding. So, and it's just that simple. If we want to raise our test scores, we're going to have to put our money where our mouth is and get this thing done. Steve also, building trades, he's had a great relationship with them and encouraged them with Lodi Unified. He made me remember that Thursday was their apprenticeship recruitment program at the building trades. They had over 750 Lodi students here, encouraging them to go in, operators, electricians, sheet metal workers, roofing, laborers, fantastic careers that individuals, they call it the other 5-year degree. Our students can go right to work while getting their apprenticeship and getting their journeyman in 4 to 5 years and walk out with great paying jobs starting at about $20 an hour, finishing in 5 years at almost $50 an hour with no student loan debt. And how fantastic is that? Wish I had no student loan debt or my kids. But Steve, thank you for the report. Good news or bad, it's great coming from you, and thank you for all you do for our district.
Any other comments?
Just one quick one. On the apprenticeships and the trades, yes, I've gone to the open house with the trades and the apprenticeship programs. Wow, they really do it up well, and those kids just love it. And sure, there's a financial and career benefit to that. So I completely support that. As being a former ROP teacher, yeah, CTE, ROP, it's really got something for everyone. It really does. Let me know how that goes. I've got some potential local resources that might be able to be another resource for getting this kind of thing through and up and running. Thank you, appreciate it.
Great, I look forward to coming back and giving you regular updates.
Great.
Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks a lot.
Nice job.
Dr. Washer, what is the procedure for pulling the PIPS report?
Mr. President, members of the board, staff would like to pull the report that's listed there on the agenda, the PIPS, for agenda in the future to give you more information.
Okay. Do we need a motion for this?
No,
Okay.
we're just pulling.
Okay.
What's
It's done.
What? It's not an action item.
It's not an action, it's just a
It's
report.
just a report.
Okay, going on to consent agenda A, routine items. Are there any items that members of the board would like to pull? Wow.
Yes,
Rick? Oh.
I would.
All
Sorry,
right.
I just
All right.
I would like to pull A8 and A10, please.
Any,
Oh, you've already pulled A10.
okay, so that's gone.
Okay.
A10 would have been an action item, so that does need to be. Superintendent?
So I printed my.
I'm sorry?
agenda on Friday, so the agenda I put on Friday is,
It's still on the agenda.
No,
right
it's-
now.
oh, so.
We're gonna
Mr.
pull it.
President, members of the board, it's on consent. Staff would like to pull it. It should have been an action item, A10, so we're pulling that so that there can be discussion.
Okay.
So you still want to pass it. You want to pass it on today.
Right.
But we want
You
to
wanna
take it
vote
off
on
of
it.
the consent agenda
Yeah.
as a separate item.
Makes sense now.
That's why I pulled it.
Okay.
Okay.
So 18 doesn't matter. Okay. Any
Mr.
other?
President, I'd like to pull A1 for a question.
A1 for a question. Any items the public would like to pull? Okay, Mr. Nava. Oh, yes, ma'am.
A4?
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the rest of routine agenda A,
Second.
except, are we dropping A10?
No, we're just pulling it as the others are being pulled.
It doesn't exist. Okay.
How about
Second.
L?
Pardon?
L's a part of one,
I'm sorry?
L.
No.
We're not there yet.
Okay, do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Students, you have a vote on this? You vote yes or no on the motion? You vote yes. Okay. Okay, board vote, please.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, that motion passes 7 yes, 0 no's. And the first item we pulled was A1. Ms. Freitas, you pulled that one, okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the things I saw in A1, and maybe help me understand this, is item number 4 on A1 is the self-insurance fund 67.
Yes, sir.
And is this connected to what we're talking about in item A10?
It is, it's the same transfer that the board pulled last board meeting.
Okay, so we can't approve item 4 until we've discussed item A10? Do I understand that?
Oh, no, this is not related to item 810. This is a 2019-2020 budget item. And 810 is the board's closed books for the 19-19.
Okay. I am confused. How are they different?
This is a budget transfer for the current fiscal year to pay for the PIPS premium. It's all done within Fund 67. A10 is the unaudited actuals for the 2018-19. So they're two different budget years. Two different years.
But I still thought the PIPS was pulled to be taken on as an action item at the last meeting, or?
Is this the one that was pulled, that you pulled from the previous meeting and now we're bringing back?
Yes.
We pulled I thought we pulled the funding being transferred from 67 into the JPA. Is that correct?
Well, the JPA has already been paid.
You pay what, $400,000 a month, is that correct?
$4,087,000.
$4 million total, but you're paying so much a month. And we pulled last week, drawing funds out of 67, which is where we have our old workman's comp claims, what is it, July 1st, I'm off? 2019? And how many claims do we have out there?
Actually, I don't have that number with me.
Well, I actually have a lot of and those claims are still ongoing, is that correct?
They are.
Now, we're pulling money out of that fund, which the state of California oversees, that we have to keep at a certain level, is that correct?
There's no statutory requirement.
They don't come in and tell us that we have to keep it at a certain amount so that we're the state of California?
The board's actuarial actually advises the board on what to keep in that.
The state of California does not get involved in how much we're supposed to have reserved for the old workman comp that we were under self-insured.
There may be a minimum limit, Mr. Porter, but I'm not aware of it.
My understanding is they're very conservative on that. I said this before. And I spent a lot of time researching. So you're going to pull money out of that fund, and then you're going to take it and pay for the new JPA, which we want to look at, because there's some concerns raised about the cost and how we're funding it. Is that correct?
Well, the money's already been pulled out of the fund, though. The premium has been paid.
So you already pulled the money out.
Yes, sir.
And we're voting on it tonight?
You're voting to take money out of the reserve in that fund and place it into a budget code.
And what happens if we do not do this?
Then a negative will remain in the budget code that was used to pay the premium, but the fund balance will still be plenty ample to cover all of the reserve, or all of.
Let me ask you the multi-million-dollar question. The PIP program, which we've never gone into until your tenure, is that correct?
That's correct.
And now we're going into it. We're under a 3-year contract.
Well, there's a 3-year commitment, but we entered after the first year, so we are only committed to this year and the following.
Is there a situation where if we defund this program and keep Fund 67, which seemed to work fine, and where we have our own money, we're drawing interest on it, instead of giving all the money to the JPA where we don't draw interest on it, we lose it completely? Is there a provision to allow us to get out of the JPA?
I don't know the exact terms, so I believe we're committed for 2 years.
But you said you believe. That's not a yes or no answer.
I don't have the actual contract in front of me.
Because I'm under the feeling that when we made this decision, and Christy McCall, is that correct? Julia Morgan. It was late in the evening, and you used the words 99% and what was the other one, 67% or 7% coverage?
Correct.
That me being the old high school teacher, I was thinking coverage, but all that means is they're guaranteeing. Is that correct? That has nothing to do with coverage.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
The question is, that's a level of confidence, not a level of coverage.
That's correct.
Okay. So we're paying, I believe it's over $1 million more to be in this program based on what we were paying. That could go up based on the amount of salaries that we have, the JPA, the amount that you quoted us. Is that correct?
Sounds like it's approximately correct.
So the amount of money we're paying now could go up as the salaries increase, which are going to happen. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we'd be paying more for this, and you told us we would get $100,000 less every year by going to this program.
I believe we will, based on the actuarial's calculations.
Well, numbers that I ran, and it doesn't jive with me, but then I'm not an expert. I can tell you right now, I'm dead set against going into PIPF. And based on all the information, all the research I've done, that we're going into this, and the board didn't have all the information, and the numbers that were used were maybe in your mind clear, but in our mind, being some of us very naive about workman's comp, not true to us to understand. We weren't really given all the information, is what I'm saying. So on number 4, which is one of the ones I wanted to pull, and L's coming up later, I believe, too, I do not want to take money out of 67. And then you're gonna have to show me where you're gonna pay for this. Because down the road, I wanna get rid of PIPS. So that's where I'm coming from right here. I think we've done fine with what we've had. And based on all the numbers I've seen since 2013, we've never run into any major problems. So I don't know what the purpose is, given that none of your predecessors wanted to go into this program. And the costs have stayed relatively the same or gone up since your predecessors have been here. So that's my situation on Fund 67, that we should not vote yes on this, we should vote no, and pretty much defund what we're trying to do with PIPS.
Any other comments?
Question.
No, maybe a comment, Mr. President, members of the board. I just want to try to understand what's being proposed, because the board has already voted to go in a direction, a bill or funds have been expended. This item is a fund-to-fund transfer, so voting no doesn't change whether we're in the program or not.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'm asking that 67 stay funded, because we still have to pull money there to pay for the other workman's comp that occurred before, those claims that occurred before July 1st, 2019. I don't want to draw on that fund. We might have to replenish it if the actuarial costs come back up. We have open claims in there that are still occurring. We still have 2 pots we're paying on workman's comp. So why did we leave the one pot and establish another one?
So what does that do budget-wise, Mr. Khan?
Well, the money's already been paid out of Fund 67.
You pay month by month. And you have a 10% penalty if you don't pay monthly, is that correct? On time? And you haven't told me if we can opt out.
I don't believe we can, but I will check.
Probably some type of penalty, I'm assuming. So you don't have any information on whether we can opt out?
Not at this time.
And your reason for moving us into PIPS was to save $100,000.
That's correct.
Which you can't guarantee, is that correct?
Well, losses are yet to be realized, so I don't think.
Well, it's going to go, our cost is going to go up anyway because our salaries are going up.
Well, our cost for the 1920 years, but.
So the estimated $4 million that you got is based on the salary that you gave out in last year, is that correct? Or last school year?
That's correct.
And obviously, our fees are going to go up because our salaries are going to go up. That's what it's based on, is it not?
It's possible in the 2021 year, but not in the 1920 year.
Well, I just feel this whole thing has been poorly laid out. And the board has been poorly informed. And I have a lot of issues about other things as well, in terms of information as we make million-dollar decisions up here. That could affect our students, our teachers, our custodians, our clerical, all the people that work here.
Okay, any other comments? Okay.
Well, when we talked about this, we pulled the item, I think at the last meeting. I was kind of hoping that we would set up some global type resolution in this area, at least more information sharing. And it's my understanding the district has set up 3 sessions for board members to attend to receive additional information on the JPA PIPS.
Mr. President, members of the board, we'll be contacting board members to see if you would like to come in and get more information, yes.
And I think Dr. Washer asked you a question, Mr. Khan, about the effect of not doing this today. We don't have to take action on this transaction.
No, sir, the bills are been paid, so the only issue is that you've got this dollar amount in the reserve or in the unassigned amount for Fund 67, and you have an equivalent negative in the SACS code that was used to pay the bills.
So it wouldn't affect our credit rating or wouldn't affect accounting principles for us to not make this transaction today?
I believe at the end of the 1920 year, if the negative still exists, it would be a finding.
Well, I'm just asking that we delay this till after we have the information since meetings and that we have a global resolution on the JPA. So it'd be my motion that we approve item A1 with the exception of the Fund 67 self-insurance transfer in item number 4.
I will second that.
Okay. Is there any comments from the public? Michelle, you coming in?
Good evening. Just so I'm clear, we pulled the report item that was prior to our action A items that are part of this Fund 67 that we're talking about, the JPA. So will that report item come back for us to make comments on and ask questions? And then I heard something about board members getting training. Is there something that will be for the public to hear about more detailed information on that through the
Public
chair?
item will
Sorry.
come back.
Thank you.
Say that again?
A public item will come back at some point. This is being tabled, so we have to bring this
Right.
back.
Would that be then through a regular meeting, or would that be like a study session, or how do you envision it?
Mr. President, members of the board, it could be just a regular action item, and then the public would have opportunity to comment.
I think that's all I asked for at the last meeting was an action item.
Correct. And the reason is that more information was desired.
Correct. Tonight, the report, we had placed the report ahead of this so that the report could come, and then you would have information then to make the decision. Now that we pulled the report is gone, but the item was still there, so.
And that's what the motion was to put.
That's right.
Ms. Conn, this is just an accounting, I mean, money's been spent, it's just transferring money from one account to another, isn't it?
Well,
Just an accounting
one
trick?
account to another within the same fund.
Yeah, so,
But
okay.
the one account is the account that you're using to cover pre-existing workman's comp. So you're pulling money out of a well that you're using for pre-existing claims that occurred before July 1st, 2019. And nobody has the numbers, although I've looked them up, they're well over 60, 70, I think, it could be more. People that are doing workman comp claims that we haven't closed out. We're still incurring costs. So why deplete that fund, which could be used for those claims, is what I'm trying to drive at. Those claims are not going to go into JPA.
You have a comment on it?
I think the board will see in the A10 item tonight that there are ample reserves available in Fund 67 to pay this. There will be no further claims against this money because the board has effectively transferred all the risk from the July 1 period on. I believe Mr. Porter is correct that in the past few years, our experience has been lower than the $4 million. That said, there is no one at this table, Dr. Washer's table, or the board table, that can use that experience as a valid evaluation of the potential cost. It would be my recommendation that we use the board's professional actuarial opinion on this rather than a few years' experience. I don't think that would be a fair evaluation. At this point, it's likely that we probably have about $18 million worth of workers' comp reserves in Fund 67. Mr. Porter mentioned at the last meeting that there is a potential for taking all of those existing claims and doing something that's called a loss portfolio transfer. In effect, we can sell all that liability by paying somebody to take it from us, if that makes sense. Current estimates are about $14 million for the entire risk pool that we manage as a self-insured entity.
Mr. Can I
Yes.
say before we go? I think my concern as handling workers' comp, I have some risk background experience, is that we're talking about two different systems and we're trying to merge two different systems, and I feel that there's information that we need to have financially and on paper to understand exactly what we're approving, because when it gets done, at the end of the day, no matter what money transfers to what fund, we are responsible for millions of dollars in many people's lives and livelihood and children and staff and insurance benefits, and we could go on. And we have an onus to sit on this board to make informed decisions. And I feel that while we have a lot of information, I think there's a miscommunication in information. I think we all need to be on the same page before decisions are made. So I think if we all take a quick deep breath and wait until we can get together and have some conversations so everyone understands. Mr. Khan, I'm not doubting your number sense. You are way wiser than I am in number sense. But I would go toe-to-toe with you on workers' comp knowledge. And I would fancy myself rather knowledgeable in it, and this doesn't make sense to me, the way it's laid out. I would like to have more information. You know that, I know that. And until I'm comfortable with it, I would have to vote no again and again and again, and I don't think it's a matter of I don't believe the numbers. I need to see how they work. We're basically asking for two different funds to coexist. Based on information I know from being in this industry for many years, we need more information to make an informed decision to protect ourselves and to protect our district. I think we would be foolish to move forward without the proper information, but that is for another day, and that's why it was pulled off. So I'd like to move forward. What's your motion?
On the other hand, the money, the obligation's there, and we do owe that money somewhere, and it still sounds to me like we're just taking money, robbing Peter to pay Paul type thing. We're just, it's not costing us more money. It's just we're just using a different.
I think that's the whole point, Mr. President, that we don't have the information in order to make those decisions. While it appears one way, I think there's more information that needs to be divulged, and we need to share that information in order to make the decision. I think it appears, having not been in a risk management position and not handled claims, that there are two funds working. We've agreed to PIPs. That's what we would like more information on versus being self-insured. And both of those come with lots of obligations and lots of financial responsibilities. And while, not to be technical, but there are medical-only claims that will remain open until the life of the person that was injured. And so in order to fund those would come out of Fund 67, and in order to move forward with PIPs, that's a different dollar amount that will move from July claims forward. And a risk manager or someone in those positions is what we need the information, but again, I believe that's for another day.
Okay, someone's going to have to repeat that motion to me.
Approval of item A1 with the exception of the fourth item, which is the Fund 67 transfer.
Second.
And I believe it's been moved and seconded.
Okay, we have first and second. Students, you get to vote on this. Yes or no? Okay. Just tell us what you. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So voting yes means that you're doing everything except for number 4. Voting no means you're doing everything including number 4.
Right.
Okay. Board vote. Okay, that passes 5-2. All right. I've kind of lost my place.
Item 4, Lisa, another.
Oh yeah, public. We had somebody from the public pulled item 4.
Thank you, members of the board. So I'm reading this, and it looks like you're putting portables at Lodi Middle. That's what this is all about?
Just one.
Just one. Okay, so this goes back to my, my previous comment about, not only about the Stockton schools, but about where kids are being sent. The students who are going to the new housing by the Lodi Costco are supposed to go to Murata, but a lot of them are asking for interdistrict transfers to an impacted school, which is Lodi Middle. It doesn't make sense to me that we are putting, and if you look as either by the crow flies or if you do Google Maps, Murata is still the closest middle school. So why are we trying to put more students on an impacted campus that can't hold these students, rather than putting them to the school where they are supposed to go, that's listed, that they know that, hey, your assigned school is Murata Middle School. Okay, why are we doing this and putting in portables and crowding classrooms where, and approving interdistrict transfers where these kids, so that these kids can go to a Lodi school instead of a Stockton school? It just doesn't make sense to me, and it just really want to know why. The cost itself is insignificant in the grand scheme of the type of money that we spend in this district. It's the principle that I want to know. Thank you.
Mr. President, members of the board, we do not put portables on schools to accommodate IDAs.
Mr. Khan, this has been in the works for a couple of years.
The Lodi Middle portable? No, sir. It was just one portable. That was a request by site staff.
That was a while back when they requested.
I believe Mr. Palmquist and I worked with the principal back in maybe November, December. It is a lease portable. It's only leased for 2 years. The fear at the time was that you had the big 6th grade, 7th grade class, now 8th graders. So that bubble is going to move to 9th grade next year. But there was also an issue where principal was, I think, had 3 teachers sharing classes at Lodi Middle. So it's temporary. It will go after the measurement projects. I think started.
Okay, any other board comments? Public comments? Oh, yeah.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, student vote? They vote yes. And board vote? This motion passes 7-0. Mr. Headley, did you pull item 8?
Yes, I did. I was trying to recall all of the details of the report item of this one before it became action. Just kind of rapid fire question and answer. It is a $5 million grant. It's a one-time $5 million.
We're asking for
I believe, Mr. President, members of the board, I believe that Liz is here, as Denise, if you have questions for them.
Would that be okay?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Can you
Come on up,
come forward so everybody can hear? Whoever.
Mrs. Astro and
Enjoy it. They're just really quick clarifying questions. Okay, it's one-time $5 million comes into us.
Well, we're asking, it's a $167 million grant, and we're at this statewide.
Yes.
And at this point, we're asking for $5 million, but we're working right now on how much the facilities are going to cost to upgrade. It might be a little more, it might be a little less. We're still waiting on the funds, so we're asking that.
Gotcha. So it is still kind of flexible depending on what the outcome of the study of our needs.
Yeah,
Okay. And it says it's a 33% match, so at the $5 million, it's 1.65, and that money comes from us.
I believe it's in kind that we currently have in place.
It's
Say it again.
So our special ed teachers would count because we're already paying for them. It's in kind, we can use
got it.
what we already have.
Got it. Okay.
And it said that it's going to allow up to 500 additional slots. Is that general ed, special ed, or a combination of the two?
It's,
That increase?
it's state preschool, because right now we have 335 slots for state preschool, and Lisa Lopez, the director, is here also. And so what we want to do is we want to expand it so that we have more slots, because the way the state works, there's 4 tiers, and our special ed students can't get in. They're the 4th tier until all 3 tiers are full. We don't have enough to fill those 3 tiers, so we want more slots so we can get them all in with the combination.
Does that require additional classrooms?
Yes. And the class, well, okay, let me explain. We have 20 classrooms right now that we use for special ed.
Yes.
And so those are the classrooms that we're going to upgrade to state preschool standards. So for example, we have a class of 10 special ed students, and state preschool can take up to 24. Yeah, so depending on how many students. So then we put general ed students in there, and that's where we can fill. So we're not going to put any more. That's
Okay,
our.
and that's where I was coming, going, so where are these kids gonna go? And I'm thinking, that's part of our problem with portables, you can't add them because our footprint on most of our schools is so limited.
Right, correct.
Okay, okay. That's it. That was my questions. I really appreciate the answer. It's very clear.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Ladies, I love this presentation. We had it last time. I love it as an action item, and I gladly move to approve.
Hey, I was gonna do
Too late. We got a first and a second.
Golly
Student
sakes.
vote
I'm just afraid of this.
and board vote.
Thank you again, ladies. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Better wait to see what happens.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
and
we
it's
go.
7-0.
Thank you
It's
very
been
much.
approved.
Thank you very much.
Okay, that completes,
8:10. Oh, 8:10.
no, that completes the consent agenda A.
So did we?
8:10 was pulled.
7 and
Say it again, sorry.
pulled items.
We pulled 8-5.
5, 8, 6, and 7.
Who pulled these?
I didn't know that.
Those were not, they were not pulled officially.
Mr. President.
Do we need to pull these items?
We just approved it.
We approved every one.
Oh, did the board know?
Well, they were previously pulled at the beginning of the.
Okay, so then you did vote on it.
So we voted on everything. We did vote on everything.
We voted on everything, but the ones that you want to pull, we're just gonna pretend like we didn't? Okay, so they were pulled earlier, and we just weren't informed of that.
5, 6, and 7 were pulled for a future meeting, so we bypassed.
Okay, so we just weren't informed.
We went on.
We lumped them in and we shouldn't have.
Now we're on time.
Okay, got
Now we're
it.
on.
Okay, very good.
Moving on. Okay, consent agenda B then, student discipline cases.
Chairman, I
No,
move.
we gotta vote on 8:10.
8:10.
8:10.
8:10.
Do we have to do 8:5?
Why? It's been pulled.
It was supposed to
not-
speak to it, right?
It was pulled for presentation and discussion.
Right.
Pulled for a later meeting, or is it pulled?
No, sir, it's pulled for presentation and discussion.
You wanted it as a separate action item, not a consent agenda.
Those-
And that's why I wanted to pull it, is because it needs to be.
Which numbers, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. 8:10.
Hey, what if we have
We have a presentation discussion on that item.
8:10.
I second.
That's great.
So do we need to formally pull it?
No, it's
No.
pulled.
And what do we have a presentation on item 10?
Hey, I like that idea.
This is how just woke up.
What about HN? Are we going to get to that?
But they didn't hear it. Yeah, they were pulled at the beginning of the consent. Just
Accepted?
She stated at the beginning of the consent agenda that 5, 6, and 7 were pulled for future meetings, and number 10 was pulled for presentation.
Go.
Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Lasher, we're pleased to present the district's closed books for the 2018-2019 year and this year's unaudited actuals financially. I'll introduce Director 3 Controller April Juarez to present for unaudited actuals.
Hi, April.
Hi.
That's right.
Sorry then. President of the board, Mr. Connected, board, sorry, I apologize. I was like, you didn't tell me this. Okay. President of the board, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Washer, good evening. I'm here to present like what Leonard said, the unaudited financial statements or report for 18-19. And also wanted to recognize all the accounting staff and the rest of the fiscal services division that put together all this during the year that work together so that way we can be fiscally responsible and accountable.
April,
Sorry,
would you mind moving the mic a little bit closer to you? I think the people in the back have an hard time here. Please.
Sorry. All right. Okay. So the next step would be is to once you guys approve this unaudited actuals, it's going to be submitted to the county for approval, and it gets submitted to the state for final approval. And after that, we'll have the outside auditors auditing our financial statements, and then that's when they're going to come up with audited financial statements. So this is the component. So at the end of June 30th, 2019, we ended up with $65,527,906 in general fund ending balance, and the components are the non-expendable, which is our prepaids, revolving cash of $508,407. We have a restricted balance of $7,208,301. Our assigned is $47,271,198, and we have also unassigned reserve for economic uncertainties for $10,540,000.
If I may add on this slide, so total ending fund balance unrestricted and restricted is $65,527,000. That is actually up about $1.5 million from the previous year. And I'd also like to comment on the assignments on the next slide.
Okay.
These are the assignments. As I mentioned, the ending fund balance is actually up June 30, 2018 to June 30, 2019 by about $1.5 million. But the board may recall from adopted budget that there's a couple items missing here versus what was approved in June. One was the $1 million grade span adjustment. We just took that and rolled it into the programmatic reserve. And then also the $10,100,000 odd dollars for operational reserve. That was, the board may recall that the district is using that money to fund the access control rollouts and the Jive system implementation at all 50 sites. And then also we are actively doing more and more fencing, it seems, as well. So we took the 10 million one out and we're only up 1.5. Why is that? Well, and I can speak to specifics if the board would like, but we actually had about $10 million worth of fallout last year. The biggest area of unspent money were the two mandated block grant and mandated proceeds for programs. Excuse me for just 1 second. So for outstanding mandate claims, there's 2.7 million unspent. The mandated, and the board may recall, basically that's your one-time monies. And then
Which one was that again?
It's resource 033. It's not in this report. What I mentioned is we moved 10.1 million out of general fund into Fund 40 to handle the capital projects, mainly access control, the jive system, the PA and the telecom system, and then fencing and some other items. But your ending fund balance only went up by $1.5 million. So why is that? That's because you had about $10 million actually go unspent last year. The two big items were your one-time money amounts in the 0033 resource, and then your mandated block grant was another $2.5 million. We've got all the numbers. If anybody would like any more discussion on that, we can provide.
Did you say the one-time money? Which one was that one there?
It's not. So this reserve for one-time carryover is 3.6 million, but there's still about 2.6 million of that went unspent.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't we reserve so much for RBED, things like that?
Yes, sir.
And how much of that was spent for RBED?
Gosh, I'm sorry, I don't have that number.
You don't have the breakdown of things that we spent them on?
Well, not handy.
So we can provide that information.
Thank you.
Mr. Gunn?
Yes, sir.
At the reserve for restricted budget, 7.2, what does that comprise of mainly? Is that food services or is that separate? It's all, I'm sorry, that's general fund. So where does that restricted come from?
Your two biggest restricted accounts are your 6,500, 3,300. Those are your special eds. 3010 is your Title I. That's a big area of unspent money.
Right.
That's money that we typically have to spend early in the next school year so that we don't lose it. I don't have a breakdown on the restricted, but I can get that.
So we're drawing almost $30 million out of general fund for special ed. And then we've got 7.2 reserved still.
And again, it's across all restricted funds, but we can get a breakdown.
Mr. Connor, the school site?
A good portion of this money are district-type funds for the restricted, but yes, there are Title I monies allocated to both school-wide and targeted schools that go unspent.
Okay.
But those Title I's, that money, when it moves forward, it will be spent first before the other one. Is that correct? Okay.
It's an appropriate Title I expenditure, yes.
Got it. Now, when it says general fund, doesn't that mean restricted and unrestricted?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Excellent. So just a general breakdown of where all of our funds are allocated. These are our other operating funds. So Mr. Neely mentioned food services. That's the cafeteria fund, or Fund 13. We discussed Fund 67 today. There's a $36.4 million reserve there. The final one that looks like a massive negative of $18 million, that's your Fund 68. That's your other post-employment benefits. This is an actual number that the auditors will look at and in all likelihood approve. However, it is an actuarial amount that is, in many cases, may be overstated to some degree. Staff is extremely comfortable not adding any additional reserves to this, even though we must report it as a big negative. Construction. Okay, so these are, we'll present a Measure U report later this evening. We're also in the work, we're preparing a Measure L report, but these are your four funds, building funds. So you have Fund 22, which is your Measure L, current balance. Fund 23, which is your Measure U. There's been substantial spending in it since June, in not exactly spending, but either expenditures and encumbrances for this year. And the board will see that in just a moment.
We added another 3.3 million in developer fees from last year, so we need to get spending on that. And then Fund 40 on the end, we discussed the $10.1 million transfer.
Mr. Khan, how much is the M&O building going to cost?
The construction agreement is $11.4 million. We are going to seek approval for a change order to move the good portables that are currently located at the M&O location. So I don't have a cost on that.
How much was the insurance on that?
About $360,000 for owner control.
Owner control. We were paying that amount?
Oh, yes, sir. And then we're budgeting about 14 million, which we'll show you in the Measure U report. We also have to move all that equipment. I originally guessed that'd be about $1 million as well. So.
Yeah, I was just curious about the insurance. You did a wrap on everything on that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Debt service, so the bar on your left is our Fund 51. The board may recall they have no control over that money. That's run by San Joaquin County Treasurer. That fills with revenue from the tax assessments in December, and then the treasurer pays the bondholders that bought the bonds that the district issued directly. On the right is your Fund 56. This is your Caucus Fund. I'd like to congratulate Ms. Suarez and her staff. I believe it's fair to say that fund has fully offset the remaining debt service on your remaining COPS and QSAPs. That's our final slide. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the board? Public? Okay. This is something we're going to.
Have one.
Oh, thank you. Oh.
Members of the board, there was a $9 million in your general fund slide, the first slide. There was $9 million for, not that one, keep going. There it is. Reserve for retain and recruit, $9 million. What exactly is that for?
Staff compensation.
Staff compensation meaning, is that certificated? Is that?
That's presumably all staff, but that would be the point. We are in negotiations now. So.
Thank you. Good question.
Mr. Chairman, this is an action item. I move we approve item 810.
Thank you.
Appreciate the presentation. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Khan, can we go to slide number 2, please? Well, can we go to slide 3 first?
General fund.
So on the general fund, the second item is $10.54 million for economic uncertainties, and that column totals $47 million. And I apologize.
That's, yeah. 10,540,000.
Go to slide 3, please. 10,540,000, and the column totals 47.2 million.
Yes, sir.
And then if we go back to slide 2, the 10.5 million is added to the 47 million again for a new total of 65 billion.
That's correct.
0.6. Could you explain that to me?
Absolutely. So on slide 2 at the bottom of the slide is your unassigned reserve for economic uncertainties. That is the board's statutory requirement for 3%. And then historically on slide 2 is the statutory requirement, 3% requirement that the board must maintain against its expenditures. On slide 3, 10,540,000 is an exact 3% as well, but traditionally this board has always reserved its own 3% for economic uncertainties in its assignments.
So there's two 10.54,
yes,
3%,
yes, sir.
for 6%.
One required by law, one It's just a board tradition.
That answers my question. Thank you very much. I call for the vote.
Well, I'll do that. I'll call for the vote. Yes, we have a first and a second. We got a first and a second already. Wait, and the student vote is yes or no? Yes, thank you. And, oops. And the board vote. Okay, that motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go on to consent agenda B right now, which is student discipline cases. We only have one student.
Chairman, I move we approve consent agenda B.
Okay, we have a first and we have a second. Students, you don't get to vote. So, board vote, please.
Wait a second.
That passes 7-0. I am going to move the student communications up at this point because it's 9 o'clock. So, Dylan, you were here on time. You gotta go first. No.
Trinity was working at the pet shelter, so.
Whatever.
She was caring for homeless pets. Very severely injured, so.
Go, Dylan.
Thank you, President Nexted, members of the board, and Dr. Washer. For my report this week, regarding student government, we had our annual blood drive on August 22nd, which was canceled about halfway through due to a poor AC unit and it being too hot in our gym. Still, in that short amount of time, we had 63 pints of blood donated, which was good.
Wow.
And our homecoming planning is currently in full swing, which will take place next week. Our theme is home, and we are getting prepared for our morning tailgate, rally, pregame tailgate, and our crowning of our king and queen at halftime. Our performances and events, last week our drama department held tryouts for our new theater production of Peter and Wendy. And our special student accomplishments and recognitions is academic. Our Block L rewards are coming November 5th, and this recognizes students with a GPA of 3.8 and above for 2 consecutive semesters. And we will be giving away 221 awards to students. Co-curricular activities, we are excited to announce our new men's volleyball spring sport with Paul Wilson as the coach of the team with an informational meeting next week to build interest on the sport. Lodi High's bass fishing team will be competing in a tournament on October 21st at Lake Comanche after competing in a national tournament in Alabama this summer. And our esports team just finished holding its first tryouts. The fall season began on October 1st. And activities and events, Lodi High would like to appreciate and like to thank Tilke High School for letting us borrow their football field last Friday against Stag. It was a big night for Lodi with all 3 levels of football taking a win over Stag.
Who's that? Who'd you guys do? Who'd you
Dylan, could you explain bass fishing? I mean, you guys have your own boats and everything?
I'm not too sure about the bass fishing team. I know we are one of like the only schools that has one, and I'm pretty sure it's the students that are in the club that have the boats who fish quite a bit. There's not too many members in it, but
I think it's great.
If you're the only team, you're probably going to win, huh?
Yeah, I'd say so.
We went back to the.
Sorry, Dr. Washer, I can't help myself.
Alabama, did you say?
Mm-hmm. This summer.
How'd they do?
I'm not too
Put you on the
sure.
spot.
Yeah, I was afraid you were gonna ask that, but I'm not too sure. But I imagine good if we were at the national competition. So.
Right. Outstanding. Thank you very much.
Is the boys volleyball, is that a CIF sport? Is that new or it is?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan, you know a little bit about the football team, right?
Yeah, I'm on the team actually.
And what positions you play?
Wide receiver and corner, also special teams.
Very nice. And how was your game on Friday?
Really good. We had taken the win over Stag. It was 41-15.
I hate you guys.
Oh
no!
Stag. There's
You just keep it coming, Dylan.
There's 15 points are the only points we've allowed against us in the last 3 games. We're 3-0. And yeah, we're doing pretty good. We're excited right now.
How was it playing on the turf?
I actually couldn't play. I was injured due to, I had a hand sort of skin infection last week. I don't know how, I can't explain it. But so I will be in this week against Edison.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And where's the game against Edison?
At Edison.
Oh, very nice.
Mhm.
All right, well, looking forward to 4.0. Very nice. Very
All right,
nice.
thanks. Okay.
Who'd you beat on Friday?
Trinity, you have something for us?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'm Trinity Escarpizo, ASB President of McNair High School, and I'd like to share a report. For student activities and programs, we had our culture collab on September 6th, which was when 3 of our cultural clubs, Thai Laos Cambodian Club, Cap Amelia, and Vietnamese Student Association, collaborated together on activities. Student government-wise, we appointed 2 new officers, the commissioners of activities, Haley Escarpizo and Jim Gonzalez. Last week, September 9th through 13th, we had our homecoming week, and our theme was Marvelous McNair, based off of Marvel heroes. And that week we had our rally, a lunchtime tailgate, and our football game against Gregory, which we won. We also had our homecoming dance in the small gym. And what we're doing new this year is that we're having each class compete against each other throughout the year using the 5-star system in order to see which class can accumulate the most points and get an incentive at the end of the year. That's also applying to a new thing we're doing for the teachers. We split the teachers in between a black and a green team. They will also get an incentive at the end of the year with who has the most points. For performances, presentations, and events, our Vietnamese Student Association, our cheer team, and Rhythm Emphasis all performed at Rally last week. We have been having college presentations for the past few weeks, including CSU Monterey Bay and UC San Diego. And this week, counselors are going around to senior classrooms to present about financial aid. For upcoming events, choir will have a performance this Thursday at 7 p.m. in the theater. Girls basketball, the freshmen and the sophomores, will be having trials this Friday. Student government is looking forward to plan our winter spirit week, which we call our snowball week. And Link Crew is preparing for the 100 hours coming later in October.
Very nice. Thank you. Trinity, very nice report, thank you. Big week with performances this week, right?
Yes.
So choir's Thursday, 7 o'clock in the auditorium.
Yes. In the theater, yeah.
In the theater, we're all invited, right?
Yes, of course, yeah.
And then the band and orchestra is tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Is that also correct?
I can double check on that. We didn't have any announcements.
Well, I have an email here from Mr. Dawson, and we wouldn't want to say that he was incorrect on that, right?
I believe he's correct.
Better be.
Well done.
Hopefully
Very
he's correct.
good. So anyway, both of those are first-rate events, and it's nice to have them back-to-back, and I think we're all invited.
Yeah, you are, definitely.
Trinity, are you taking any of the collab classes they're doing with Delta at McNair?
We haven't confirmed them yet. We just had a survey asking our students which one we wanted to do.
Right.
But when they do, if we do get scheduled next year or next term, I'll hopefully get.
Are you excited about that?
Yeah, I've been trying to do dual enrollment for a while.
It's dual enrollment.
Yeah.
You pick up college credit, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be doing that during the day, is that right?
Yeah, it'll be during our 4th period.
I think that's outstanding.
Yeah.
I hope you're able to get that in next
Thank you.
Very nice report. Thank you.
Your next football opponent will be Tokay at Tokay.
Yes.
Not bad.
So.
No, not yet.
Okay, all right, thanks. It's, if you would like to leave, you can be excused, or you're more than welcome to hang around and listen to the second half.
It's going to get exciting.
Yeah. Speaking of the second half, other action item number 1, hiring of short-term classified employees. Routine, Mr. McKilligan?
Yes, Mr. President, this is to provide extra support in the area of safety and security of the high schools and middle schools.
Any board comments?
Yes.
Yes.
How many employees are we talking?
I don't know the number.
Oh.
This is just the vehicle to provide that option to be able to hire people during this year and provide extra support.
Okay. Got it. So the funding, that on the cover sheet, there was, the funding is not there. So what would the funding be for this? I mean, I'm all for it.
I have no idea. I was asked to bring this forward to be able to provide this opportunity to be able to address short-term issues over at the high schools and middle schools.
Yes.
I don't know what the intention is for what the total funding would be or how many positions it would be.
It would not be school site funds if that's what you're concerned, if that's the question.
No, yeah, it's not a concern, it was just more of a question, I guess. And I guess an overall question is why is it short-term instead of long-term?
Mr. President, members of the board, we don't have currently a long-term funding strategy in place. That would need to go through the LCAP process. So we were hoping to be able to get some assistance out there on a temporary short-term basis until we can get that, if the board so chooses, into the LCAP process.
So that would be an additional item that if we wanted to add staffing to safety, campus security, whatever, then we could do that.
Correct.
Yeah, let's make sure we make a note of that because I think that would be a great expenditure for it. Just one overall comment about that is I'm looking at $16.55 an hour. That seems awfully low for the responsibilities that we're asking people. Is it low because it's a short term, or is it low because that's where it falls on theirs? I mean, is that the cost of a first year campus security? Do we know?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Wow. Just like I said, I'm one of 7. I'm sorry. I think that is embarrassingly low. But I do want to throw my support into this being a long-term thing. So yeah, let's go for that. I like it.
Big support for this, but it looks like we're hiring them for 2019 through 2087.
Well, that's the number of the resolution.
The resolution's 001-1.
The item is 081, the resolution is 2019-18, that's the 18th resolution in 2019.
Yes, that's the resolution number.
Oh, I got you. I just was worried we're 70 years out.
Long term.
Well, I must say, Mr. McGill,
Back to the future in reverse, okay.
Mr. McGill, I appreciate your getting this going because we definitely need it. Number one thing we need to do for all our parents and students is have safety. And if this is what we're going to do, we're going to add more people on campus with more eyes, more physical presence. It's one way to get it going. So I thank you for getting this on.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve this resolution, 1987.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. So is there any, didn't ask for public comment. Okay. All right, board vote then. The students are gone. Okay, passes 7-0. Other item, action item number 2 is the approval of National Bullying Prevention Month. Mr. Neely, would you?
I will.
No, we have to read it. We do have to read that.
Wait, what's that now?
We do have to read it.
We do have to, okay. Real quickly, while I was doing some research for Got Kids about programs coming up, and Ms. McGregor had helped me out with some suggestions from our principals. He got a lot better response from them than I did. But while I was doing this, I ran across this, and in October is National Anti-Bullying Month, or National Bullying Prevention Month, excuse me. So I suggested that we do this. I'm going to read the resolution. I've got some things to talk about on it. National Bullying Prevention Month, October 2019. Whereas the Lodi Unified School District supports the rights of students and staff to attend schools that are safe and free from violence, harassment, intimidation, discrimination, bullying, cyberbullying. And whereas providing a safe school environment that ensures both the physical and emotional safety of students and staff creates the conditions necessary to foster academic achievement. And whereas bullying, Harassment, intimidation, discrimination, and violence can create barriers to learning, increase school absenteeism, and contribute to low self-esteem, depression, anger, and extreme cases, school violence or suicide. And whereas clear behavior expectations coupled with consistent and fair consequences contribute to a safe school environment. And whereas the most effective approach to creating safe school environments requires a comprehensive, coordinated effort, including school-wide, district-wide, and community-wide strategies, whereas all institutions, organizations, and individuals must accept responsibility for their critical roles and collaboration to establish a positive environment for teaching and learning. And whereas Lodi Unified promotes National Bullying Prevention Month, which is a campaign in response to the need to raise awareness of bullying that provides schools and communities with an opportunity to educate students, parents, and others about their roles and responsibility in bullying prevention. Now, therefore, it is resolved that the governing board of the Lodi Unified School District hereby proclaims its commitment to the education and prevention of bullying within our communities and schools, exploring solutions to the problem and offering support in raising awareness and recognition of the month of October 2019 as National Bullying Prevention Month. Passed and adopted, hopefully, the 17th day of September 2019 by the following vote of the Board of Education, Lodi Unified School District of the County of San Joaquin, Tuwit, and then the rest of it continues. I'd like to make a comment on this, though. I'd like to see this be more than just a symbolic gesture. And we pass a proclamation and nothing else. I'd like to see this actually be a springboard for us to move into more aggressive anti-bullying and behavior modification techniques. And I think we need to really begin with this strongly with our younger grades so that it continues to go. There are many things that can help us on this. A lot of schools are doing something called mindfulness, which has been very successful. I know on a personal basis I do that all the time, and it's helped me remain a lot calmer in the last couple of years than I was in the beginning of this term. So I think there's a lot to do here, but you know, it's interesting. I had the conversation with our very knowledgeable superintendent on this one time. At least he tells me that anyway. About kids who have problems, and some of our children of poverty are actually survivors of PTSD. Yep. Growing up in that environment is post-traumatic syndrome. Now, I taught at Title I schools, and I dealt with families that had 3 families living in a 3-bedroom place. Now, what would happen is that 2 families would get 2 bedrooms, 1 family would live in the living room, and the kids would all be put in the same bedroom, with some of the kids sleeping in the closet and things. A lot of those kids were raised by other kids, and that's a real problem. Now, Joe, I've heard you mention before, say, yeah, our parents aren't, in some cases, doing the job that they need to do, and you're right. But you know what? They're not going to. So therefore, we've got to do something about it. And Mr. Headley, I've often heard you talk about the disruption in classes because of bad behavior. And I totally agree with you. And if we are going to do something about it, we need to impact those young grades and then have it continue on. So I don't know exactly what the answer is, but I say that we use this resolution as a springboard for this district to look at the individuals. Now what's going to happen with this is there's going to be a lot of schools that are going to have anti-bullying seminars. Those are great. We need those too, all right? But what we really need to do is we really need to have those courageous conversations about the students that are causing the problems and then help develop programs to modify that behavior. So we've got to come up with something on that. It's going to give us more instructional time. It's gonna make our classrooms more pleasant to be in. Our kids won't be scared to come to school. I don't know if you guys saw today's paper, Lodi News Sentinel, wasn't very pleased with it. Front page, about a mother who was not sending her kids to our schools because of problems like this. Not happy about that at all. I think we need to do something about it. That's all I've got.
Action item, sir?
It's an action item, yes it is.
I just have one quick comment. I think out of everything he read, what really struck me is that it is a coordinated, long-term, the best way to teach those kinds of things is to draw in a bunch of resources. And so I think that coordinated effort is really critical to actually move forward. So.
And we've got to lead it.
Okay.
Chairman, I move we approve that resolution on recognition of National Bullying Prevention.
Second that.
And we have a first and a second. Okay, calling for the board vote then. Okay, resolution passes 7-0. Other action item number 3 is provisional internship permit and approval. Mr. McKilligan, we need to get some of this taken care of.
We do. We need board approval for PIP for Mrs. Sell.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a first and a second. I think Mr. Hebley did.
Yeah, Mr. Everly.
I did?
Yes, Mr. Everly.
It's a good day when you can beat Joe to a
That's
second.
right.
Okay, oops, by vote. Okay, that passes 7-0. And again, Mr. McKilligan, routine personnel matters. You need a vote on this,
I
right?
move we approve personnel matters.
Second.
Okay, we got a first and a second. Nobody has any problems, so let's vote. And that passes 7-0. We are now at employee group comments, if there are any. I thought I saw, there's Michelle. How long does it come?
Good evening, President Knaxton, members of the board. It's been a frustrating evening representing my members here. Several items have come up that we have not opened up to public comment again. I understand that there was an issue with some items being pulled on the action items. And on the electronic version, they shifted down earlier today and thought they were coming up for discussion. Talking to Lynn, we understand why. However, we've now gone through some of these where waiting in the side wings here to talk haven't been given the opportunity. So if we're going to follow our procedures and we have this time carved out, I hope that we honor those times for agenda items. First item I'd like to talk about is a pulled item, the workman's comp item, the report. I think it certainly has come to light in my personal life this week in our district. Last Thursday, I was made aware by an employee who had a workman's comp issue, got hurt at school. There's a new policy. There's a new procedure. Nobody knows about it out in the field. I happened to get hurt here Monday. I was doing acrobatics in the entryway. In walking around the second floor, I saw poster after poster after poster after poster hanging up in cubicles. And when my member came to me Friday and said I got hurt Thursday, we were told we had to call this number. I said, what number? Did you report it? She and the secretary tried calling the number. could not reach anyone to make the workman's comp claim. It was the following day that she was driven to a hospital to be seen. Here's the problem. We've changed the actions. We haven't instructed our employees. There's a communication breakdown. Really disappointed that that item was pulled to talk about. So I look forward to the opportunity for more members to come share their experiences. I can tell you, when I filed the report and talked to Jill, she handed me a card with a number on it, and I said, "What's this?" She said, "This is who you call and talk to." So you talk to another person filing another report after you already filed the paper report. You file another one before you can even be seen. Now, obviously on the card it does say, if there's loss of life or limb, call 911. But seriously, it was a slap in my face this week that we're not communicating these things being rolled out. And as you looked through the report, you saw that there was some training going on of other employees. Your staff needs to be trained and be told what the new procedures are. I've referred to her, go to the clipboard in your staff room. There's a workman's comp page in the little turnover page to file. She said she went and looked. There's nothing there. One breakdown of communication. We had tonight the preschool grant. I've been inundated with calls from my preschool members who are puzzled, unsure, disillusioned after the initial report at our last board meeting. Tonight's report, not allowed to ask questions and share. My members are all tuned in tonight to find out some questions. As you can see, the people who presented the report are already gone. What we did find out, and I appreciate Denise Mangram's time this week in meeting with her, was getting some details, some questions answered that my members had that maybe you might want to know. We're looking at different models, a co-teacher model, an itinerant model. And the itinerant model is similar to the guesting model that has been taking place throughout our district in the last year, unbeknownst to some of us. An email went out to our preschool teachers about guesting. Tons of questions and things that nobody knew about the email. Staff didn't know before it was sent how this was going to be rolled out. So a special ed para is bringing a special ed kid into the preschool classroom. How does that meet the state requirements? So there's lots of questions. They can lose their licensing when they become in jeopardy and risk of failing when they come in and check and they count heads, and the most they can have is 24, and that's with them, with the district para, and a parent volunteer. Remember, we've talked about this before. If the parent volunteer is not there, they send those 8 to 10 kids home. They're not allowed inside the room. So you can't have 24 without that parent there. So the numbers are less, but we're guesting in a special ed kid, but those other kids have been sent away. So we've got lots of things happening in the preschool world, and we're looking for lots of answers. And my teachers, as I told you, when we referred to their salary schedule being the lowest and our earliest learners, their pay is low. But they are professionals, and some of them have been doing the job working with, God bless them, 3-year-olds who they're trying to help guide through life and learning all about sharing and participating and what the norms are in the classrooms. We've set up a meeting for our general ed, state and Head Start preschool teachers next Monday in order to talk about many of the questions that they had that they were hoping to kind of hear some answers to tonight. So I look forward to any of you that are interested in attending to hear what those teachers are frustrated about and what our two staff people will be presenting. I think writing the grant is a great opportunity for us. But if we have serious doubts from our employees that it's going to be successful and we don't address it out front, this isn't going to work. We should be building a positive relationship and making sure that everyone's on the same page. Denise, I feel, in setting up this meeting, answering questions, taking feedback, is going there. Tonight, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed, because I know there are some that were waiting for some answers, hopefully tonight, to put their minds at ease. What's also been brought to our attention this week is, once again, report cards. I've come to you for the past several years about report cards, benchmarks, assessments, pacing guides, uploading, downloading, all of that. We need to have teachers who are in the classroom helping make some of those decisions. And talking to Lisa Gutowski and talking to ARE, there are some flaws in the system. In our contract, AC Day is for assessments, correcting, grading, inputting, report cards, inputting, writing comments. That's what that AC Day is for. However, once again, we do have a system that is uploading information the day before the teachers gain access to start printing and having their grades populated in the report cards. Well, in finding that information out, looking for an additional day to download the HMH, for example, into the system so that it can be uploaded into the report cards, I have found 25 of our 33 school sites start parent conferences this Friday. I have 12 that have already started today with parent conferences. Why? Because there's not enough time to have a lengthy conversation with a parent within those 4 days. It is the understanding of ARE that parent conferences only happen during those 4 days. So see, in the conversations, I've brought you this information and asked for a report card committee, asked for teachers to be sitting on a committee. It is full force. I have teachers going, I haven't finished. And I'm doing more one-on-one with some of these, and it's taking more time. And part of it is new technology and learning that new technology and getting it. But my teachers are accommodating parents and trying to work around bilingual paras schedules so that they have a translator that can be there so the parents totally understand. Which then brings up a safety issue. Who's on campus? Who's at the other end of the radio if something goes awry in a parent conference at any point in time? Even if it is, as some have been telling me, that they are late at night. Some of them say the school does it together. This brings up a safety issue that I didn't know existed. And as I'm told, radios are broken, they've been waiting for them. Well, who's on the other end? A custodian. So I think we need to be looking at report cards, parent conferences, testing. The other part of the testing, teachers were told over summer that the new science adoption, I know several of you were at many of those science adoption meetings, and they were told they would not be tested K2 on the science this year. It's my understanding that we're going away from what those that did the evaluation of the science materials into writing our own benchmark. So is that what we voted on when we voted for adopting a material, is changing the assessment that came with the publisher? So I think we really need to be looking at, are all the departments communicating? If a teacher calls up ARE and says, this is a problem, we don't have our assessment collaboration time until Wednesday, but it's downloaded the day before, and it'll be uploaded on the day of AC, so it'll show up, but I'm not finished inputting. So there's little pieces that are ajar. We're a little frustrated. On a positive note, thank you, Mr. Khan, and I believe Tina Wolverton for having the health fair Monday so people could come, talk to providers, and make better choices for their family and decide on what health care plan to choose next year. Thank you very much. We also appreciate the support of lending us these 3 beautiful rooms tomorrow, where we have 100 members coming in to learn about CalSTRS and retirement and how to start preparing for retirement so that they are on the healthy end of a teacher afterwards and maybe coming back to our district and subbing. I hope that these comments with regards to report cards, benchmarks, assessments that happen in our textbooks, that we really think hard about establishing a committee and inviting those in the classroom to tell whoever it is what's working, what's not working, how do we change it. And as we looked at the pacing guide and tried to find it, some of my members, we found that it is on the pacing guide, but for a short time they could not access this year. Thank you for bringing up the reimbursements. We do agree. We understand originally that the $100 was $100 per store. So if I went to Safeway to go buy my science materials, my peanut butter or my whatever, we used lard for something one year. Those things, it was per store. It then went to $100 per day. I'm telling you, you have teachers working hours to help them raise money for their field trips. I have a teacher that goes to Costco, Smart and Final, Winco for their Harvest Fest events. She can only spend $100 each day. It takes her over a week to get all of the items for her school for Harvest Fest. There is no POs like we used to have. Like I'm sure many of you who worked in the district know that there isn't that same request to go. So I hope that we increase that and that we look, maybe it's per different store if they have to show the receipts. Evaluation and the RBET. That's come before you. It's been approved. It's being rolled out. We know there were hiccups. We know that the hiccups with the publisher, and they're still working on those hiccups and getting them so it can go out. And we've heard some very positive comments about it. However, when we talked about this, gosh, I want to say it was November, over a year ago when we were talking about evaluation systems. We'd really like to make sure that the norming is existing and that not only your administrators are being trained, but you have teachers in leadership positions that are trained in this evaluation system so they can help walk teachers through it. And then you're going to need to train the teachers. Some are just saying, me and the principal are walking through it. Well, how about everybody walking through it at the same time so the message is the same? So there's not a breakdown in communication in that. We'd like to see that. We have heard about issues on locked spaces and safety in classrooms, and that there are teachers that are going to their administrators and asking, I do not have a locked space. We want to make sure that this is available and that leadership looks at making sure how to help those administrators find locked spaces for every teacher's purse in every classroom so that everything that is personal, that they don't get their hands on any Advil or anything else. With regards to people and security, we like that we've got some short-term stuff, but we do think that eyes on campuses are important, and we've heard that the creek tonight needs more. We've heard in the last month that the creek needs more. My colleague who was up here, Mrs. Minnick earlier from Bear Creek, talked to you about reimbursements and things coming up. She's also looking for judges. I want to extend that invitation for a speech tournament the weekend of the 28th. If you'd like to participate, she would love to hear from you. Last, Mr. Neely on the bullying campaign. Thank you. I believe it also is also our Drug Prevention Month. It's the red event, so maybe there's some way we can tie that in. And why not roll out a campaign with both? We've seen in the news the vaping issues with students. We've not addressed this. We've not addressed this at young kids, and as we see that younger and younger kids are getting access to this, let's be the leaders and gather people up to campaign for drug awareness, bully-free. I think that goes hand in hand with our PBIS. And tonight you shouted out Needham and their PBIS work. Why don't we bring those people in who are doing great things that could share in October what those awesome things are, like the great buddy benches that I've seen at work walking on campuses. So we are doing some really great things. Let's bring them in to share that out as we talk about those celebrations. And I hope that we can have better communication and more say in what comes forward to you in board meetings. It is a work in progress and a partnership that we come to you to make everything better. We want the utopia, but we know realistically we can't have everything, but we can work together towards those goals. And I hope tonight you hear our frustration and that we want to go forward with some of these, but we need to open up those lines of communication for people listening when teachers call in and say, this isn't working for me. Thank you.
Michelle, if I forget to ask for public comments, just wave at me or something. It's not on purpose. Trust me. It's just, I just move it along. So just if it's.
So I don't know. Maybe we need to do
get
a bigger flag because
just,
I did. I stood up.
Just
I
wave me
waited.
down.
I waved.
So
we're.
So Mrs. Oregon, I apologize that you felt slighted. And I think maybe our employee groups could sit closer to the front or maybe closer to the table so we could recognize right away.
Tonight I did pull in a chair from outside to help me sit and get up and stand, and I appreciate that comment, but I don't think I should have to sit in the front row to be recognized.
Well, we're just making sure that.
Yeah, I think everybody.
And then I have curiosity. You slipped and fell. Are you doing better? Is everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you fell and you filed your report, did you have to fill out an incident report then?
Yes.
Or did that teacher you talked about? So
well.
Or you have to call that number.
You fill out an incident report, and then you call the number and file another incident report. So now you're filing 2 reports before you can get to somebody. So in my instance, it was filing 2 reports in order for the gatekeeper here to say, yeah, let you talk to the nurse. Then after.
As the head of LEA this summer, were you ever given information of the change in procedure? Okay, thank you. That's all I need to know.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Any comments from the superintendent?
Wait,
Okay.
we got another.
Oh, yes.
Third row back.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. You have to just wave and let me know.
Good waving.
And it works every time.
Good evening, President of the Board, board members, Dr. Washer, and Dean Blunt, President of LDPA. We have recently submitted our reopeners for contract negotiations. Thank you, Mike, for getting that speedily into the board minutes for the 15th, and I believe the public hearing will be coming up on November 5th. So that will be presented to you. We get ready to get started on it, and we're really excited about it. We held our first general meeting today, and unfortunately 2 of the meeting topics were grievances that we're currently pursuing. So far, they've been very congenial, haven't had any bad experiences, but we are pursuing two. One is regarding the speech language and pathologist shortage, which has resulted in overages on their caseloads. They're really, being asked to serve a lot of students, and it's affecting their ability to do their work well. We had a presentation today on the 500 additional preschool students who may be coming forward in the future and being students here. The average is about, for 500 preschool students, we have 8 to 10 of them needing speech and language services. That would be an addition. What's that?
8 to 10%.
8 to 10%, right? Not 8 to 10 kids. 8 to 10% of the population tends to need special ed services in the area of speech and language. That's an entire caseload for another speech and language therapist. So just kind of things to think about as we're moving forward. As the district grows, we need to make sure that all of our support services grow as well. The second grievance that we're following is on behalf of our program specialists. We've had 2 retire over the summer, and when their positions came up for rehire to fill those positions, they were not filled, and in their place, I believe it was 2 coordinators that were hired in their stead. Another program specialist was left our district to another district, and again, that position has yet to be filled, but it's coming again as a coordinator position. And we're not sure exactly what's going on as far as how that's. We're looking at members losing representation. We're not seeing those same positions filled again with our members. So both areas of concern, and we're looking into those. But other than that, the year has been a busy, full year. But we're working our way through it. Things are smoothing. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, any other CSEA or anybody? Okay. Mr. Khan, can we, Dr. Washer didn't have anything else, so we're at charter school, followed by Measure U, followed by business services.
Thank you, President Maxted, members of the board. Dr. Washer will move through these pretty quickly. Or Mike, if you'll. So we only have the one page on the Houston CERNA update. While Mike's pulling it up, I'll go and discuss it. But we've already, things change rapidly with this site, I've learned. We were scheduled for the PG&E connection this coming weekend. It hasn't technically changed, but it looks like it's going to be delayed until the weekend of the 28th, 29th. The architect is designing copier room and bathroom renovations. I don't have any further information on the water tank, but he's still trying. All the other items will be, actually have been done, I believe. Fencing was removed around the trees last Friday. The site doesn't have access to the storage containers yet because there is still an electrical issue just to the east of the storage containers that our staff is worried about. But we'll get that taken care of and then open it up to them. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about Houston.
Any comment?
More of a thank you. Leonard, I know how hard you've worked on this, and I appreciate your diligence and your communication on this. It's been a trying situation, and it is acknowledged that the efforts that you have put into not to keep more than just one school happy, but 2 schools happy, and all of the people and bits and pieces of it. So I thank you for your help.
Well, thank you. There are many staff members that are responsible for that. If there are no further questions, I'll move on to
Please do.
Measure U. So the board may recall we did actually, I'm going to bounce back and forth between both of these files if I may, but we'll start with the corrected Measure U first. We ended our relationship with PM Web and we created our own accounting program for Measure U. This is what will be one of the feeder sheets to it, but it's really the base spending.
The corrected one is The only difference I see is Cernan.
No, the only difference is we added the 16-17 column. We were having trouble actually reconciling those amounts from the old system, and we got it right. And then I was just going to inform the board, but we can inform on 16-17 at some later point, but this is actually accurate right now. So currently, we mentioned earlier that reserves in Fund 23 about 67, 68 million. You can see in the total under the 19-20 year that currently planned is 25,171,000 for this year, some of which is already expended. You can go through the list and see where the money is being expended or encumbered. But this does not include the change order that we'll talk about in a second for interim housing for Lodi High School. And another thing to consider is if construction gets going, at least on the schedule that we believe it will now, the pay apps could start coming fast and furiously. So if there are any questions about this table, I'd be happy to take them. Otherwise, I'll move to the other PDF, Mike. And then to the second page on that. So currently, we're working with Architect. We believe that design can be in the DSA by early to mid-October to lease 9 regular classroom portables, 1 extra large portable for the special ed classroom that will have bathroom and sink in it, and then 1 restroom portable. These will be placed north of the vineyard behind the greenhouse. The rationale for this is the site already, I believe, has 15 teachers sharing classrooms, and we must rip out those 9 portables along the access road, just south of the access road, in order to meet summer timelines for M&O construction. So we have to put them somewhere, and this is our idea. I don't really have an accurate cost estimate. I'm sure it's going to be bigger than a bread box and smaller than a bus, but I think 1 to 2 million is somewhere in the ballpark. We will know more once we get into DSA and the design is finished.
When you say access road, is that by the pool or by the parking lot?
It's between the parking lot and the first building, so right where the electric gate is.
Yep.
So there are 9 portable classrooms that stretch just south of that. And those have to go because they're in the path of, I'll say, construction, not destruction, but we have to have some place to put the staff and the kids while construction's going on. Another ancillary benefit to this is if we can keep this timeline, so with the interim housing, there's a real possibility that those portables could be in place in February. We are actively talking about moving the teachers' classrooms in the 9 portables over spring break. That will enable the Class A contractor to get in and start demolishing the M&O buildings that don't house people. We anticipate moving M&O staff to their new facility on Guild Avenue, hopefully May, early June at the latest. And then that Lodi High is going to turn into a circus early June. And they're going to, the site contractor will really go after that parking lot. If we can get them there early June, site contractor thinks he can create not a huge student parking lot, but a student parking lot, which will mitigate the issue of student parking during the construction process. We believe we have a solution worked out with the church across the street for the staff to park during the weekday. However, the church wants nothing of the students. No students. So that's a concern. If we don't have any place for them to park, then we're going to start hearing from them all on the other side of Elm, all the homeowners in the area. So I see this as a kind of critical thing to get that student park.
Well, I think part of what the church is thinking also is that they do have preschool there. And they're just worried about in and out congestion, lunchtime, everybody even coming, that's part of it.
They weren't very specific, but they were very clear. If there are any questions about Lodi High's interim housing change order, I'll take them, otherwise I'll move on.
Just one that I brought up before is in any construction, but specifically when we're going to be doing construction with the students on campus, I'm worried about physical barriers so that we completely keep separate construction and children.
It's a requirement of the projects. It's going to be tight, but it'll be safe.
Very good.
Mr. Kahn, as we filled the F&P position, I don't think we have we?
We have not.
I think that would help you at least, because your job seems to be so, you're like an octopus with many legs. You're touching so many different things. I think the board should look at filling that F&P position to assist you, because I think we have upwards of $120 million coming out of construction. Is that correct?
But it's only in 3 projects, and what's more fun than this? So. If we could get...
Bring up workman's comp again.
I absolutely concur, because one of the things I was worried about when we're losing people is that, like you said just a second ago, it's going to come fast and furious, and I'm worried that I don't want it too furious so that it can't be handled.
It'd be great to have a head of F&P at least.
Pressure's on him.
Well, we do have a pretty big, I'll call it a stable of professional help.
Right.
So, I mean, we accomplished quite a bit this summer. These are bigger projects, but again, they're just single projects, whereas this summer we were all over the map. So I'm confident we can get all of this done with the team in place. If we find the right person for that position, absolutely. Any further questions on Lodi?
Sounds great. Thank you.
We'll move on to M&O. So we will actually come to board and seek a change order for M&O. There are 2 buildings, the EMS and plan room building, which is on the far west-hand side of the property, a little up against the fence, but a little north of the greenhouse. That's a viable building. There's no reason to throw it away. Staff would like that placed on the Guild Avenue site. And then also the office portable where the director and there are 2 supervisors and a conference room. That's a very nice building. And we'll move that as well. So we'll come back to that. And then last night, Director 3 Controller Ms. Juarez and I were in San Francisco meeting with underwriting team and financial advisor. Our bond counsel could not make the meeting. We will be back to board at some point. We're anticipating asking for permission to sell another series of bonds in the 2020 year. All the numbers look good. At least right now, interest rates are low. Our capacity well exceeds the actual bond issue, which I've never seen before. So we could actually sell more bonds than our bond authority will allow us to. So we've asked the board, the underwriters to calculate out $110 million for January. We'll come back with a full report on this. The original timeline estimated about $85 million, with Lodi High, Tokay, and Needham scary. We are in pre-construction right now. We do not have GMPs on any of these things. We did get good news on Needham. The demolition, which we were really worried would well exceed $1 million, maybe approach $2 million, may come less than $500,000. So that's really, yeah. So I mean, we've had everything tested, and we've had a contractor comment that it shouldn't exceed that. We don't have real prices yet, but we're hopeful. But if we can move through, we're currently talking Lodi High School December 2021 delivery, maybe October, but December 2021 is the conversation. If that's the case, if we only had $110 million, we could spend out by then, and then we might be locked out from issuing again until the late 2023. So the timing on the money is going to be very, very important in order to keep this train moving. But we'll get the board report on that. Are there any questions about the bond sale, future bonds?
Not so much bond sale, but you mentioned the three big projects that are coming up, Lodi, Nita, and Tokay. On the Tokay building, there were two science classrooms, and it had an ad alternate for two more farther west. At what point do you want us to say, yeah, we want 4, we don't want 2?
So we
Because
both.
I don't want it to go to an architect and go, oh yeah, we're gonna add 2 more. I mean, I wanna know what the process is and what do you need for us, because I'm pushing for 4. If we're gonna do it right, you get rid of those other 4.
So both Lodi High School and the Tokay projects are leasebacks. We are in pre-construction on the gymnasium. We're still working on a contract for the classroom building. But hopefully we can resolve that soon. Lodi's going great guns. I think construction documents could be ready by end of October, November. DSA submittal maybe early December. But still, we are in pre-construction right now. Once the construction documents are approved to move forward and they go to DSA, the moment DSA approves that, the board will have a GMP. That item will come back to the board for approval. And the GMP will have the add-ons. And the board can either just take the core program or add the alternatives as well.
I just want to make sure we weren't locked out.
And the board may recall, I believe the original program for Lodi High was 58. And I think we were up to 66 classrooms.
That's
Have they taken any further questions?
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Last but not least, our new drone policy. I'd like to thank Ms. Von Gier and Ms. McPhee for the work they did on this. So in essence, the issue with drones, to put it simply, is it is an FAA item. Now, your teachers, administrators can oversee student use, but technically the teacher can't be the one flying the drone around without proper licensing. If the board ever wanted to have drone footage of the school sites, it would either have to be taken by a student working on a project, or if the board, the adult doing it would have to have filled out the exhibit presented tonight. It is important from a risk management standpoint to have the drone policy. As far as I know, we have Delta Sierra flying drones right now, and Valley Robotics just received their 4 per class, 1 per classroom for those kids to start as well. So.
Because they do have a ceiling that they can't go any higher.
That's correct, 400 feet.
What happens, so I'm a yearbook advisor, and I have a drone, and a special event is occurring that just popped up. I want to run the drone. A student does it, or I have to do it. So the teacher has to be COA at first certified, is that correct?
If the teacher is flying the drone, a student does not need to be, or a teacher does not need to be, if the teacher is just overseeing the students.
According to this, what you've written here, that there's no serendipity, where you have to turn in when you're going to use it and so forth. Is that correct?
If you are actually flying the drone as an adult.
As an adult, so a kid can say there's a big tennis match, and you want to take pictures from above.
As long as they're being supervised by staff.
Oh, yeah, obviously. You go out there, the young person that's working on the yearbook does it, and everything's okay. They don't have to turn any paperwork in or anything. Okay, thank you.
You know, they've got to be trained, there's got to be some kind of certification in order to fly a drone over a crowd.
I haven't seen anything over a crowd, just over 400 feet, so.
I understand what you're saying,
But
but we need to come up with something about that. I mean, we need to, I don't want a drone flying over our kids by anyone unless they've been thoroughly trained and that drone's been checked out. Too big a
Have you flown a
potential for
drone? Have you flown a
disaster.
drone?
What's that?
Have you flown a drone?
Have I flown a drone?
Have you?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know. I lost one.
yeah.
But according to you, the FFA says it's okay for kids, but the adult has to be licensed.
Weird.
If the adult is the one flying the drone.
So we're within guidelines. If the student's being supervised, we're okay.
If it's instructional, yes.
Gotcha.
Probably safer with the student.
We need to think that.
But it's probably a wise idea to get staff members licensed.
Even if the FAA doesn't, we need to reconsider that.
There's some real problems with some of that. We've had emergency services for a long time. And then also, it's not just being in the air around the scene. Part of it, and I agree with George, is that unfortunately anybody can fly a drone over a crowd, let's say at a football game. And they can videotape, they can whatever. That we can't control unless you get law enforcement involved, because there are rules about it, but they're not our rules. We're not an enforcement agency. So how do we do that?
But that drone belongs to Lodi
Unified. By this policy,
I see what you're saying.
you have control of the airspace over your property. And whoever wants to fly a drone over it has to fill out one of these forms, or they're in violation of the
Have you ever seen one of those things drop? They come down hard.
What time is it? What time is it?
So I think that's a great point. We gotta look into it.
Well, we've been doing rockets for a long time.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you have to be, yeah.
Usually those are out in the field. When you start talking about flying over tennis events, that's what maybe no, we don't need to be doing that by unlicensed people. You know, they got them now, drone where you put your cell phone into it, and they have a Bluetooth controller. That's amazing.
Okay, anything else on drones?
I move we pass
Public
this.
comment?
Yeah.
Public
I was
comment?
waiting.
Oh, sorry.
Kevin's
Go
finished.
ahead.
You finished?
Oh, I did have a question on a subsequent, but I'll wait. Go ahead.
No, she's just better, let her go.
Yep.
Let her, don't make her.
It is a report.
Come on,
There's
Michelle.
no action.
No action, very good.
Public comment.
You can go after her.
Yep.
Great that we're writing policy for something that's brand new. I don't know what the licensing is, and for those of you that have flown drones, if we're asking our teachers to supervise, how would they get licensed?
It says right here.
They go on the the
They
FFA
just-
website.
Just the does it cost them going to a class?
That I don't know. I think it's just
I'm sure there's some training.
Well, if they're supervising kids doing it and they just play the game doing it, I don't know that much about it. My concern is if they're gonna be having drones in science classes and this is a requirement for them, I hope that we're going to be offering training for them and licensing for that, if that's required in those classes. But I don't know what classes would be flying drones, so
Well, your
help me here.
Delta Sierra has one.
Yeah, Delta Sierra's got a.
So but those are the club,
Well,
No.
your class.
STEM classes.
the STEM class, so,
Well, your book has them too.
They take
Your book class.
tremendous amount of footage over
They do a
aerial
lot of footage
pictures
over.
and
They've got.
so are they currently licensed?
the students don't.
The teacher there is not.
They don't need to be licensed.
Students don't need to be licensed.
No, the teachers who are supervising,
They don't have to be
they don't
licensed.
have to be licensed to
Unless
supervise.
they're operating.
Only if
The
they're
board has
touching.
indicated an interest in getting them licensed,
Yes, yes.
but according to this policy, no.
Okay.
As long as they're not the ones flying.
I think we should.
Okay.
We should.
I think we need to rethink that policy.
We're
back for.
I'll fly it.
Okay.
Board members have to be licensed.
We're
We have a board.
We're moving on to board discussion.
Real quick, I want to make sure this guy understand. I for one would really like to see some changes in that before we bring it back to this.
We do have precedent out there now, is that okay?
Yeah, look at that, Tim. That'd be good.
Something is better than that.
Yeah, I think the same lines, I don't really mind timeline, whether we add the other information later or at the same time, but I still think it has to be done.
Okay, Dr. Washer, board meeting locations?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Several board members have asked that the board discuss location of meetings. Board members have indicated that they prefer that meetings remain here at the district office. We've also had board members interested in staying at the Stockton location on occasion, so it's up for you.
It's a lot of plurals you use there, Dr. Washer. Board members. A lot. First of all, I'd like to start out with, that's the first time I've heard of Julia Morgan's that we shouldn't have them there because of the acoustics and all that other kind of stuff. And 6 years ago, Mr. Womack was a former board member, and I and Ms. Castle, we decided that we should be represented in North Stockton. And I think it was a great idea. First, there has been no complaints till Julia Morgan, and then last week they talked. I haven't said anything about it, but I would prefer to stay the route as having those meetings at Stockton.
I, for one, have no problem having a North Stockton location. The only reason I brought it up is because of comments that I have received from people in the audience, is that there's so much noise with the machines in the multi-purpose room that are cooling the milk containers or whatever. They're loud, and the acoustics is poor. So all I'm trying to get to is that a multi-purpose room may not be the best place for a venue. If there is another one in North Stockton, I'm okay with that too. I think out of respect for the audience that's there, and apparently we have not been live streaming those either. Is that correct? So what we're actually doing is we're limiting the amount of people who can view the board meeting by not having it at a place where you can live stream. That's my point.
I agree. I think we need to have a presence in North Stockton. We actually got North Stockton a long time ago. We were some of the first students that lived out there that got to come to Lodi. We need to keep our presence in North Stockton. We need to maybe change the location. I hadn't thought about that. I like that idea, maybe a better facility. As far as the live streaming goes, my God, all it takes to live stream is a cell phone. You can live stream anything.
How about a McNair? McNair's got
I
some
like
beautiful
McNair.
stuff.
I like the McNair.
Or Marauder Middle.
We could stay here all night discussing all this.
Yeah.
I
Give us options.
Dr. Washer,
Options.
find some options for
Yeah.
us.
Okay.
And Mr. President, quite obviously, we are two communities. And that is one of the unique challenges that we have, but it's also, I think, one of the things that makes us very, very special. And for us to take meetings away from Stockton, I see people at Stockton meetings that I don't see at the Lodi meetings, and making that accessibility is very important. And also, I think it was brought in, and I was very disappointed to hear this, that there's people in Stockton feel that they can be slighted. And for someone to imply that my colleague, Mr. Nava, in any way downgraded the Stockton schools in comparison to Lodi schools, I'm sorry, that's completely wrong. I know he has stood up for the Stockton schools time and time again. He has been a very strong benefactor for them and has fought for them. And us attending these meetings in Stockton, based upon his initiative, is yet again showing how committed he is to his constituents and to the students and families in Stockton. So I was disappointed to hear that. I strongly disagree with those comments, and I'm glad that we're going to stay in Stockton one way or another. And quite frankly, I don't like our people being inconvenienced and having a hard acoustic, but you know what? Where is the school board supposed to be but in a cafeteria? Because we are the grassroots form of governance, and we should not be in ivory towers, but we should be where we are most accessible to the people and have the most impact. And I think that is what this board is about, and that is what I'm proud to stand for, and I'm proud that this board stands for this. Thank you.
Is it possible to look for other sites?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Just so you know, the challenge has been that we don't want to displace children in an after-school program or something
Oh,
that's
sure.
going on.
Right.
So, but, yeah, we will look, we'll see.
Even if we pulled them a little bit closer as an audience, they might be.
Well, the sound system's bad too.
No, because they can't hear. I mean, that's right, those machines are going back there.
Yes.
Turn them off.
So we're not really doing anything.
The second meeting, I went and plugged it.
Turn them off.
I had to tell the custodian, make sure you plug those in when we leave.
Scott knows where the plug is.
Okay, so we have some direction, and I'm waiting for the next thing, Mr. Miller.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
There we go.
No, it's okay.
What?
This is where it's at.
Mr. Palmquist, I want to talk to you a minute.
You know.
Sorry.
Hey, how are you? It's been a long time. How are you? Where were you Mom?